We also have Luis Garza from CEMEX, who will be up here speaking on the main stage later on this afternoon, and a couple of folks from the local Czech market, Martin Janok and Jan Bauman from DNS. They have just been instrumental in putting this event on. So again, if you see them, shake their hands, say hello, they'd be delighted to meet you. Alan Hampton, unfortunately, from IBM couldn't be here this week due to work commitments, but again, he's been a big part in this. A quick word on session time. Something you may find fairly unique to this event is we run on the basis of 30-minute sessions. Now that's a bit of a nightmare for speakers because that's pretty much the shortest you can do a pitch in. It's longer than you might get at a TED event, but still it's much shorter than you would get at IBM Connect or some of the other user groups. But we think that focuses the mind. And I can see some speakers over there shaking their heads and panicking about how they're going to fit in all their slides in the time. But it really does focus the mind in terms of making them pick out the real gems of information that they have to present and really focus on those. It also provides a real sort of high energy feel, hopefully for you. So if you get into a session and for whatever reason it's not what you're expecting, you can just go on to the next session a few minutes later and make your agenda work for you. It's all about you getting what you need from this event. So 30-minute sessions. We also have 5 minutes in between each session. So if you need to tomorrow get from one of the rooms, which is the Dvorak room upstairs, through to the embassy room, which is the other side of the sponsor area, that's not going to provide you with a huge amount of time. So if you are scooting between rooms, do make fairly good pace to do that. We will also be keeping our speakers very much on time. So speakers, please do obey the signs we'll be handing up and keep to time. We're going to try really hard to do that. Today, hopefully you've got a feel for how it's going to work. All the main 10 sessions today will be in this room. We also have speed sponsoring at the end of the day, which will be out in the sponsor area. Tomorrow it's a bit different in that we have 4 rooms on the go the whole day. We have this room, the Dvorak room, which is up the stairs here, and it's just through the doors off the balcony. We have the bridge room, which is back through the doors there, and it's the room you kind of go through on your way to the sponsor area. It's currently got high tables in it, but tomorrow will be set up as a classroom. And the last room is the embassy room, which is all the way through the sponsor area and downstairs. Okay, there's a green corner, very obvious when you get down. There we go, there's the details for tomorrow. A word on the agenda. You will all have an agenda in your folder on the inside cover. That's up to date as of about Tuesday this week. There have been a couple of changes of speaker and one change of session title, which is the session that InfoWare are running. But otherwise it's all absolutely as you would expect. However, all the latest details are shared on our online agenda, which we've got for the first time this event. So if you go to agenda.socialconnections.info/grid is the best view to use, which pulls up this grid here. You can very easily see the sessions that are going on. If you hover over the sessions, you can see the speaker, the abstract, and some of the details about it. You can also create your own agenda, so you can go in and create your own schedule. You can print that out if you wish. You can have it on your mobile device. There's a /mobile site as well. So if there are any changes due to illness or whatever else over the next day or so, they'll be made available there. A word on speed sponsoring. Speed sponsoring takes place this evening, and the way speed sponsoring works is that each sponsor gets a 3-minute opportunity to make a pitch to you, the attendees. And what happens is we split you into groups, and then you can move around each sponsor, hearing their 3-minute pitch. At the end, if you've attended all of the sponsors of this event, get them to sign your card, and you hand that in to us with your name on it. That's a key detail. And we'll put all of those into a hat and pick them out for a series of goodies that the sponsors provided to give away. Okay, so it's a lot of fun. There's beer and wine on offer, so do please head up to the sponsors lounge after the event ends tonight and enjoy that speed session. The gala reception takes place this evening. We're really thrilled with the way this has come together. We're at the Villa Richter, which is either about a 20-minute walk away from here or is a short metro ride. If you are registered for, you should have received a piece of paper when you came in today, which has got the instructions on how to get there. Unfortunately, if you're not registered, we are full on that event, I'm afraid. I'm sorry about that, but if you are registered, it should be a fantastic evening. I want to make a quick mention of the Twitter walls here. We'll be sharing all the tweets that mention the hashtag SOCCNX, so Social Connections, that's short for. So do keep an eye on these. We'd love to see you tweeting about the event. Tell your friends how good it is, share some of the nuggets of information you've been provided with. We'd love you to get involved socially. I want to just come back very quickly to these guys, just to remind you that without them we can't be here, so do give them your time and attention. So thank you so much. That's my introduction to Social Connections. We think it's going to be a fantastic day and a half. We really hope that you get everything you can from this event. Most of all, we'd love to meet you. So if you're here, don't know many people, please do and say hello to the guys in the black and red t-shirts with the organisers, but also say hello to your friends and colleagues here, because it's all about the people. You know, we're here because of a technology, IBM Connections, but that technology is only useful to us if it's deployed in a way that makes people work better together, okay, and to work out loud amongst each other. So do get to know each other and say fantastic to meet you all. So I want to hand over now to Jan. I already mentioned him as part of the team. Jan Bouwman is an IBM champion, one of many here this week. He's also involved with DNS, who are a distributor here in the Czech Republic. I'm sure he's going to mention that in a minute. And I'd just like to hand over a brief chat about the event.
Thank you, Stuart. So first of all, welcome in Prague. As you have learned, I am one of the local guys here. So it was.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
It was a very interesting experience for me to be a member of this team. It was a kind of high honor for me because it's a very incredible event. From my perspective, 6 months ago we have no sponsors, no attendees, no speakers, no budget. And now we have more than 40 sessions. We have full room of more than 250 attendees, and we have sorry, someone else is talking. And we have a 2-day great event in a place like that. Stuart, please mute your phone. As you know, I'm working for a company, DNS. We are one of the gold sponsors. We are a valued distributor of IBM. It means we are a company that stands between channel, managing the business partner ecosystem, and also for market development. But I'm not here today because we just sell connections. We also use connections. We have a site called Betterway, named after climbing our logo, and we use it for a business partner ecosystem. So it's a kind of we have a, let's say, business partner this time for based on connections. This is not our first social business event. We run annually a conference called Get Social, with many great people from IBM and from the worldwide community. And as Stuart said, we also support with other companies a local Lotus user group, still call it Lotus. It's a small hint if you read this from backwards, you will easily recognize. So we have also a local group running on connections, and we have conferences annually, one or two of them, something like Engage or Book, but much more. So that was all from me. So welcome again. Enjoy the conference and also engage in the social conversation here. So thank you. And now it's my pleasure to pass over to Luis Benitez.
The demonstration of Wirecast.
You all know that the version number is going to be 5, and that is the case. Our executive pre-announced that by mistake, so that was a little slip that happened. I will ask you, do not tweet that or block that or whatever. The reason being is that we're doing a press release coming up very soon, And if there's a lot of people talking about Connections 5.0, the reporters and the press tends to not write about it. So we want the press to write a lot about the release, and so just keep your tweets to IBM Connections and leave it at that. All right. So the next thing that I want to do today is actually talk about why this release is so important, and what we want you to take away is that you should upgrade as soon as it comes out, because it's going to add some tremendous new functionality. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Luis. I'm one of the product managers. I manage both the on-prem Connections offering as well as the cloud offering. And you can tweet good things about me at El Benitez. If you want to say bad things, then my handle is going to be Elsua. E-L-S-U-A. So just to get that out of the way. So El Benitez and IBM Connections is the hashtag, or SOCCNX. One of the things that I think is very important for you guys to know is what is our vision from the product management perspective. And one of the things that we like to do is we want to build a platform that truly enables users to collaborate with anybody, anytime, and make this in such a way that it feels natural. So we want to, in other words, move business forward. We want to build something that's essential for you, something that is so essential that when it goes down, you start crying and you start suffering and you start becoming depressed and so forth, because you depend on it and you need it to make your work. So not only do we want to build something where it's going to accelerate your work and make work better, but also we want to make it more engaging, so that there's tons of statistics out there that show how important it is to have employee engagement in the enterprise. You increase retention and you maximize knowledge sharing and so forth. Now, why is this so important? 50 years, and one of our former CEOs, he mentioned how critical it was to take advantage of our people. And it's funny because we see a lot of investments reports out there, a lot of companies, and they say, oh yeah, our most important asset is our people. And yet they do nothing about that. They have nothing in place where they can actually take advantage of the intellectual capital. Oh, hey, people talk. I haven't seen you. Of the intellectual capital that is available there. So our former CEO recognizes, and this actually, like I said, goes back 50 years. But also our current CEO, she's very, very into the new way of business, in the sense that social is not just a water cooler, and I'm a victim of that. I used to tell people how Connections was my virtual water cooler, and that how helped me live in Puerto Rico, work, etc., because Connections was just a way to discover random things that were happening. But really what it's moving to is it's moving from being that water cooler where you randomly discover things or you randomly visit every once in a month, to actually the place where work gets done. So that's really critical. So that's where we're really focusing all of our efforts on making this the platform where work happens. And so it's fun to be working at IBM, because at IBM we've always been looking and reinventing problems, and reinventing not only ourselves and finding the solutions to the most difficult problems. So now what we want to do is find a way to reinvent work itself. And hey, making work fun. People hate work. I don't hate my work. But most people hate their jobs, right? It's tedious, it's hard to do. So why not do something where it's actually enjoyable to do their tasks? So that leads us to the question, well, how do we actually build a platform that's essential? Or how do we actually make it in such a way that it's your go-to place? Because we know that there's tons of tools that people are using today. And that's actually part of the problem, where people spend 5 minutes here, 5 minutes in this other tool, then they go to their team sites and their other collaboration aspects. And it's just hard. In fact, there's a study that was done recently by Forrester that they were asking employees, where do you spend your time and what tools do you use? And the results were pretty surprising. They were pretty much all over the place. So, of course, they use file sync and sharing, they do team sites, they do web meetings, instant messaging. But what's happening is that all these things are independent of each other. And so there's a separate Forrester report that talks about the productivity that is lost when you switch from email to instant messaging to collaboration to something else. So if we can bring all of that together and then make it in such a way that we can make it essential, but not just essential, we also want to make it in such a way that it just feels natural, right? Like you don't have to learn anything new, and like Chris Crummy likes to say, your transition from Sunday night to Monday morning is seamless. See, I pay attention to your presentations. So how do we do this? Well, one way is you guys. You guys know best, right? You are using our platform on a daily basis, you're deploying it, and you're taking advantage of it. And so that's actually one of the sources of information that I use. In fact, on Greenhouse, we have our ideation area. And so far, we've had 650 plus ideas, of which 130 were submitted this year, and 142 have been executed upon. So that's 20%. 20% of what you guys have asked for is already in the product or is coming in the Connections next release. So that's a great source of information. And it validates that we're listening to you, and again, you guys have the best ideas. Now, some people will disagree.
Of Wirecast.
Some people will say that users don't know best. There's quite a balance. But this guy, he's actually a pretty famous product manager, and he would say that people don't know what they want until you show it to them. So I think the key is finding that balance, right? You want to listen to your user base, but then you don't want to get stuck on just fixing issues that are part of the platform. You also want to be looking forward and innovating and going beyond what's out there.
Of Wirecast.
So that's actually a plug for my session tomorrow. I want to get your ideas. So what's the next big thing? I don't care about the checkbox here to do X, Y, Z. I want to brainstorm with you guys. What's the next big thing? So I think I'm on in the afternoon if you want to participate in that. But one thing that we can do is let's learn from the successes of others, right? So there's tons of customers already out there that are using it. And one thing that has become clear is that everybody is getting benefits in many different ways. So we'll have the other Luis talking about CEMEX in a couple of minutes here. And depending on who you talk to, the benefits are all around. And what I'm actually doing now is looking at those business patterns and determining how can we better go after those particular successes. Because Connections, we found, it helps you in every facet of your life. So it helps you as an employee do your work. So Pepsi was at Connect earlier this year, and they shared their story on how they optimized one process, only one process, by 75%. And so they're now taking what they learned there and expanding that throughout the entire enterprise. Amador is one where they're using actually Portal and Connections in the extranet. So actually doing it in such a way where they're building their presence and helping you as a consumer buy and make better decisions. Next is Dallas Medical's Children. So helping you as a patient. So this is another good example of Portal plus Connections, again in the extranet, this time promoting self-help, right? So if you have a particular issue, you may want to discuss with others and build communities of interest where you can all come together and talk about your experiences and the best way to manage them and so forth. So helping you as an employee, helping you as a consumer, helping you as a patient, and helping you as a citizen almost, right, too. So it really helps in every aspect of your life. So that brings me to the question that I was just referring to. Why are companies buying Connections? So there's a clear pattern where there's different buyers, and this is going to be very helpful for the partners in the room or people that actually sell Connections, because when you talk to a company, it's really critical that you know who you're talking to. If you're talking to the CEO, most likely they're looking at sales transformation or increasing sales, culture transformation, and so forth. If you're talking to IT, they're probably thinking about reducing cost and integrating everything, where everything comes together so they don't have to have multiple tools that do X, Y, Z. If you're talking to small and medium businesses, they're looking for an innovation platform or a collaboration platform, and that's where our cloud is a perfect solution for that. And CMOs, they're of course looking at brand presence and awareness and so forth. So what we did is we developed a set of patterns. Hopefully you've all seen them. It's like 6 patterns published by Sandy Carter, I think about a year ago. And what we've done is actually start collecting all the results from those. So one of them is recruiting and onboarding. And we actually found a particular company where they were able to reduce the time that it takes to hire a person by 25%. And also increased the retention rate by 20%. So again, that's knowledge that's staying and not leaving the enterprise. So once you recruit and you hire the right talent, the next step is to actually make that talent findable, right? So it doesn't matter if I hire the god of JavaScript. If that person is not found or can't be found, then what good is that person doing for you? So the other one is expertise location, right? So making talent findable, and by using a platform like Connections, we've actually been able to measure a 30% increase in the speed that it takes to find experts, right? So if you're spending weeks and weeks trying to find the right person, now it's going to take you a lot less. And of course, an increase in visibility, which I have particularly taken advantage of to grow my career within IBM. And so once you recruit and you hire that person, once you find that person internally to work with them, the next step is working with them. And so there's the final slide here talks about how you can actually improve innovation and accelerate innovation by reducing by 33% the time that it takes to launch new products. So recruiting, finding, and innovating. So that brings us to why IBM. So one of the things that you're going to see starting tomorrow. So tomorrow we are announcing Connections next. It's going to be at 9 a.m. Prague time, 3 a.m. Eastern. So if you want to get your blogs ready, you can certainly do that. It may change in the next 24 hours, but since I'm here with you, and I know this is being streamed, so people on the stream should keep quiet. But since this is a closed group, just wanted to give you that heads up. We're announcing it tomorrow, and we're releasing it the last week of June, as you would expect. So one of the messages that you start seeing is, for the release, we wanted to really bring something where you can really deploy this to and trust your people and engage them and empower them. Give them the right tools to do the right things at the right time. And of course, as the product manager, I'll say amazing things of Connections and how much I love it and how great it is and so forth. But it's always great to be validated by analysts. So Forrester Wave has 2 reports in the last 7 months that have us in the leader in the wave, the leader as a wave, sorry. And if you look at the one that was released last week, we came out as the leader, so we're in the topmost right, ahead of the other people that we don't care for. So really getting validated by the analysts. Gartner, we've been there for 5 years in a row. IDC, we've been there in terms of market share. So this is not just measuring our features or whatever. They're actually measuring the market share of Connections, and we've been there for 5 years in a row. And Aragon is about to publish their report. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm hearing it's good news. But the last one that they did, we were also the leader in that particular report. All the reports, I know you can't see the links in the bottom, but I'll share the links with Stuart or whoever, and all the reports are on the IBM.com site, so you can download them. And I posted the Forrester report in my blog last week, so you can download it from there as well. But it's not just the analysts saying this, it's also the partners we continue to see the ecosystem grow. And I want to take a pause here and really emphasize this, because I keep hearing how much the ecosystem for Connection sucks. And I want you guys to stop saying that. The reason being is I opened a site in one of our competitors, the competitor that I always hear that they have an amazing ecosystem. And I was like, I wanted to explore what they were doing. And one of the things that I realized was how small their ecosystem is. So I went into the app catalog, and I wanted to see how many solutions they had, expecting thousands and thousands of partner solutions for that platform. They only had 42. 42. So that was 2 weeks ago. So unless something changed between 2 weeks ago and today, which I don't expect, that's very small. So then I went to our catalog, catalog.lotus.com, and I counted. And the ones for Connections, so ignoring Same Time, ignoring Notes and Portal and so forth, just for Connections, there's 130 solutions out there that you can use today. Some of those partners are here today, of course. You can visit them in their kiosk or their pod outside. But we have triple the ecosystem that our second next competitor. So 3 times the ecosystem. And these are just some of the partners that were added last year. I haven't even included the ones in 2014. So the partners keep coming to us, the analysts keep giving us kudos. So I'm extremely happy, I couldn't complain. So what's coming in Connections? This is what you all want to hear, right? So like I said, announcing it tomorrow. Get your tweets ready and everything else. I wanted to walk you through the 3 releases that I just, the themes that I just mentioned. One of them is trust, right? So we talked about having people be their most important asset for a particular company. So if that's the case, you really have to trust them. And when you do that, when you really trust your employees, you're safe to bring customers and partners into the conversation. When you empower people, you can start working with anybody, anytime, anywhere. And third, when you really let them engage, they can truly collaborate how they want. Right? So that's the first one. And when you start doing this, you start extending your expertise beyond the firewall and really taking advantage of your employee to amplify that expertise that's already behind the firewall, bringing that out to the firewall. So why did we do this? Well, we did a study back in November, and we found that CEOs are ready. They're ready to start listening and engaging more and more with their customers. So in fact, they expect that to grow 40% in the next 3 or 5 years. But why are they doing that? That's because we were also able to show that customers or organizations that intensively collaborate with their customers are 60% more likely to be an outperformer in their industry. So this is significant business value right here. If you want your organization to beat your competitors, you have to start collaborating with your customers. And if you're a connection seller, this is how you bring connections into the conversation, right? You know, if you customer, you want to beat your fellow competitors, this is a great way to do it. But what actually shocked me of all this is, you know, CEOs say that a lot, right? They say that people are important and they say customers are important. So there's another question that actually caught my attention, and that was, where do customers rank in terms of the influence in their business strategy? And they came out second, ahead of the board of directors. So that means that C-level executives are now listening more and more to their customers than to their own board of directors. So it's extremely powerful. And this is the breakdown. So organizations are looking to expand collaboration from 46% to 90% with their customers, from 47% to 50% in terms of partners and suppliers, and then even behind the firewall, increasing the collaboration aspects and tools from 50% to 91%. So that's the first one, trusting people. Second one, when you empower your people and you let them collaborate anytime, anywhere, that's how you really get work done, right? You can eliminate all the barriers to collaboration. while you're traveling or at other locations. And one of the data points that was brought up is how mobile is growing in the consumer world as well as in the enterprise world. Especially as you look at on the right-hand side, you'll see that 5 petabytes of data, 5 petabytes, are created on a daily basis from these devices. So mobile is really moving from consumption. It's no longer a site to browse the BBC or browse Facebook or whatever. It's really a device to get your work done. And the second data point is that C-level executives, again, C-level executives are done. They're like, 2014 is the year that we're going to move from consumer file sync and share solutions to enterprise file sync and share solutions. And when it comes to enterprise file sync and share, who best than IBM? So that's part of what's coming. And they're saying this because they're looking at the news reports, right? Every week it seems Dropbox is getting hacked, Box is getting hacked, Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive. There's an article 2 weeks ago where organizations in the European Union are very upset at Microsoft OneDrive because the files are getting modified in the backend to add tracking data and modifying personal data that Microsoft shouldn't be modifying, right? Your file is your file, and we believe that it's your data, and we don't touch it. So many different aspects to look at. So trusting people, empowering people, and then the third one comes to really engaging people. So allowing them to collaborate how they want. I think many of you may be the guy on the left. You can't see it, but he's sad. He's depressed. He's got a lot of stuff to do. He's got things coming in through email, through project management suites, through instant messaging, through all these different things, and he can't manage it. He's just he needs help. He needs a way to really bring this into a platform that he can manage this and really be effective. So one of the things that we're adding is personalization. We're adding the ability to better take advantage of your social graph. We're making the stream smarter, and we're adding a couple of features around attention management to really help you focus on what matters to you. So, we're ready for a demo. Backstage, the Wi-Fi was being flaky. So I'm going to ask you, stop tweeting, stop blogging, stop doing whatever, so I can do this live. If it doesn't work, then I'll just do a video, all right? It wasn't working? Okay. One second. Oh, yeah. No, I don't have a VPN. Let me try switching over just in case.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Nada. Okay. So I'm going to switch over. Turn over. Stuart, how much time do I have? What? 15 minutes left? So,
this is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Okay, so this is all right. So this is Connections Next. One of the things that you'll notice is that we have a brand new theme. It's very similar to the theme of Greenhouse, but it's different in a couple of different places. So I'll just kind of highlight a couple. You'll notice that on the left-hand side, the columns have been, or the rows have been reduced. So if you look at Greenhouse today, it's running 4.5. It's got like 10 different options on the left-hand side, so we've reduced that down to 5. And the idea being that we want to have everything that's related to updates is now in one tab. So notice here we have updates, and I can switch between following, status updates, and discover right from here. So it's we've kind of brought that all together. In the stream, I mentioned that it's going to be smarter. So one of the things that I was actually talking to somebody last night, they were mentioning there's so many likes in the stream. Like, I don't care about the likes. So we got rid of all that. And now we're going to be really conscious about the information that we push to you through the stream. And in fact, I can validate this. We upgraded to Connections 5 May 11th on W3. So it's been running on W3 now for 1 month. And that Monday morning when I came in after the upgrade, I could immediately tell that there was less content in the stream. And so that really speaks to the improvements that we've done there. And in case you're wondering, that's actually the first time that we've ever released production code, if you will, to W3 before releasing it to customers. So we deployed it on May 11th. May 17th, it went to the cloud, and it's going to get to you guys at the end of the month. So we have the new theme, the ability to kind of see everything collapsed. The other thing is that you'll now see badges in the app mentions and notifications. So we'll keep track of how many notifications and app mentions came in since your last visit. And what we did is, I can't show you, but it's kind of like the Facebook model where when you click on it, then the number kind of disappears. We looked at that at the Google Plus model where you actually have to click one-on-one. Actually, I think Google Plus recently added the read all, but we kind of took the model where you click on it and then it kind of disappears. It's kind of a nice animation there. One of the things that's pretty cool too, as we flip through the different views, you can see there, the little shark fin or the little triangle just kind of, it has a little nice animation there, and it goes back and forth. And as you start scrolling through the stream, what we've also done is we've pinned the navigation to the top, where it's now locked to the top. So notice that I'm scrolling through here, and the left navigation is pinned there, and then the top share box, if you will, is also there. So as you start looking through the stream and you have a new idea of something that comes up, you can just post it right there. You don't have to scroll all the way to the top. Additionally, we wanted to make the stream something that was actionable, something that you could actually work on. So notice how this particular thread here has 2 comments. And if you want to see more, you have to click here to see more. Typically in 4.5, that would open the embedded experience. And people didn't like that because that was just, they had to wait for that. So we've now streamlined that, and that actually expands now in line. So now when I click, all the comments come in, and I can like everything and add mention and so forth. The other thing is that I can't show it here, but we also added hashtags to comments. So now when you use a hashtag, you can use that as well in the status updates comments. So that basically means that now everything within Connections is, I see that you were twisting your neck. Everything in Connections is now taggable, right? So status update comments was the last thing that we didn't have a way to tag those comments. All right. So the last thing here is we also added search of the stream. So now you can search your stream and you'll say, why is this really helpful? Well, actually, this is one interesting differentiator because, as you know, custom events can come into the stream. So you can have events from your HR system, from your Sugar CRM system, from your ERP system, from whatever. And all those events are now searchable within the system. Before, you could only search content from within Connections. So this is a good way to start kind of provisioning content from older systems and having that be searchable within the platform. All right, so you all remember this from Connect earlier this year. One of the things that we also did is we added URL preview. So you can copy the URL, paste it to the link, and voila. A preview gets generated with the photo, and that way when you share that, people can make a better and faster and quicker decision in terms of, is this a link that I really want to visit, or do I just see it here? If it's a YouTube video, or Vimeo, or Hulu Plus, or not Hulu Plus, the other Hulu, or whatever, it would just be embedded right there in the stream, and you can just play the video right from there. files. So the next thing that we added in files, we wanted to make files more findable. So as you come in here, you now have a new thumbnail view. You can quickly browse through all the files, and you typically know what the files you're looking for by that cover slide, right? So you can see, that's probably the presentation from Connect that I did. This is the Connections 5-year roadmap that I'm not going to open. And you can see videos that I've posted there and so forth. And what happens is when you start clicking on a particular file, you can see the big preview. And then rotate or go next and back through the different thumbnails that are there. And so again, you can do this with any collection. So you could be in My Files, Files Shared with Me, Files Shared by You, and just quickly flip through back and forth. But then when it comes time to upload a file, just drag and drop from your desktop. That's going to start the upload process. And now you see the new option to share the file externally. So how many times have you had a 20 megabyte presentation or 30 megabyte presentation and you want to send that out to somebody and you can't because it's too big for email or whatever, right? So that goes away now. Now you can just upload that.
This is a demonstration of
So now you can upload that to Connections. I'll start typing the name of the person that I want. He's already been registered, so I can, she is already registered. So I choose her and upload, and voila, she can now get access to the file and without having to send it via email or anything else. Now that I added this file, let's go ahead and add this file to sync. So I want this file to be something that I edit on offline basis. So now it's been added to sync. And I'm going to switch over to my desktop. And in a couple of seconds, you can see it's updating. It went away. Oh, there it is. And voila, the file's right there on my sync. So there's a new folder that we added directly in favorites on the top left. So this is where typically you will see things like Box or Dropbox or whatever. It's right under favorites, and it's a real folder. It's right there, and everything that you mark as sync will be synced down to Connections. So that's really cool because that means that you actually have control of the files that you want to download. Some people, they've given 40 gigs or 50 gigs in Connections, and you may not want to sync everything. So you can pick and choose. And you can also sync files from other people, right? So I really like the presentations from Chris, Luis when he used to be in IBM. Actually, good story. So I'll have to show you. 2 weeks ago, I was asked to do a presentation on adoption. I was like, oh man, if Luis was only here. But he is. His content is already in IBM. So I took Luis's content, I changed my name, and it took me 5 minutes to steal his content. So I love it. So here's a document. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. So this is a brand new document, brand new. It's not in Connections, brand new document. It's in my desktop. I open it with Word, just for demo. I use Open Office and Docs. But if you have Word and you want to pay the super expensive license, that's up to you. So brand new document, I'm going to save as, and I'm going to save this file directly to Connections. So like I said, it's a folder right there. And now when I save it to Connections, of course, it's going to get synced automatically back to the server. So here's where it gets cool. So not only can I now save directly, so you can do this from any Windows app. Adobe, Photoshop, CAD, if you're using CAD internally, whatever, doesn't matter. From any app within Windows, you can save directly to Connections. There's no more three-step process that you have to go through. Notice that it's back now in Connections. I didn't have to do anything. The preview was automatically generated, of course. And now when I go into a document, I have the option to edit it in Docs, right? So I'm going to go ahead, open that document in Docs, and this is what it actually gets pretty cool. I can make a change. This is how cool. We should do all Connect demos like this, no hands. So now, edit in Prac. So that file, it started in Word. I'm editing it in Docs. And now, when I save the file, it's going to get synced back to Connections, right? So full round-trip editing available within the platform.
Demonstration of Wirecast.
So to prove it, I know it's a video, but I recorded it this morning. I have witnesses that saw me recording it, so it works. There it is. It's been synced. So now when I open it in Word again, if I want to, there it is, edited in Prague. So pretty cool. All right, so now I forget what's next. Oh yeah, CCM. All right, so who's using CCM here?
of Wirecast.
Okay, good crowd. So now we have CCM available directly within the Windows Explorer, because before you had to install the quicker plugins, so you don't have to do that anymore. I can check out the file from here, I can like it, I can comment on it, just like any other file with link connections. And if I double click, notice that I can open for editing, and when I open for editing, it automatically checks out the file, opens it in the right word processing program or whatever, and now I can edit the file, save it, and it goes back to connections automatically. Again, full round trip editing
Demonstration of
with
Wirecast.
with CCM. All right, and I think if you go. Okay, I think I'm running out of time here. So there's two more things that I was going to show you. I won't show them because I'm running out of time. I'll just mention them. We added a new community files view as well, so you can look at all your files like in the media gallery. So before, people had to choose between uploading a file to media gallery
Demonstration of
or to
Wirecast.
files. We took that choice away. We got rid of the media gallery, and now it's just whenever you upload files to files, you can browse them and you can preview them just like you could in the media gallery. But now it works for everything, right? So for Office, OpenOffice, movies, images, of course, and so forth. The other thing that we added add mentions everywhere. So now you can add mention people in a wiki, in a forum, in an activity, whatever. And so that really brings people into the conversation, into the platform. And we also added copy paste everywhere. So before you had to use eFox if you wanted to. Now you don't have to use eFox if you were only looking for that feature. So copy paste is now available throughout the entire platform. Oh, I do. Oh, my bad. Oh, I can show it to you. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. I'm going to a community from files. So I went from the community menu, and using the new community landing page feature, I came in directly into a wiki. So what I did is, I configured this community to use a wiki as my landing page. And now you can use the power of the rich text editor in wikis to really do whatever you want to. So here we created like a brand new menu, we embedded a video in the landing page, and then we also embedded a couple of files with their thumbnails there. So it's kind of a good way to really create something very visual. And with the editor, you can pretty much do whatever you want to. So let's say that it's come time to actually take this wiki to the next level. So now what I can do is I can edit the page. I'm going to take a screenshot right here just for registration purposes. Now I'm going to copy the screenshot and just paste it right there in the editor. Oh yeah. So people have been asking me, hey, is there an easy way to hyperlink somebody's name and show the business card? So now I can type in Albert Nicholas, is one of our PMs. I select his name, and then when I hover over his name, his business card comes up. There's a little bug in this build, so ignore that. It should come up around the name, and there it is. So you can now mention people, like I said, pretty much, everywhere. Wikis, files, everything, forums. So it's a good way to kind of bring people into the conversation. And of course, all those ad mentions appear in the left-hand side of your homepage in that new dashboard. Here's 3 new community folders. So now you can actually create community folders inside the community. I'm not going to show you how to do that, that's boring. But what's cool is you can actually map those community folders to the community overview page, right? So they become like another app. And now I have 3 folders there: the customer presentation, event images, my folder. Of course, if I want to, I can kind of rearrange the folders any way I want. So this allows you to create photo albums or collections of critical folders, files, excuse me. And for example, like if this was a sales community, this would have all the sales presentations, right, or competitive information and so forth, and really make it super accessible to the end user. Of course, when I do view all, I can come in here, look at all the files. Again, this works for everything. So it's not just movies and photos like before. It could now be Office and OpenOffice. And then the other cool thing that many of you have been asking for is the ability to upload multiple files at the same time to gallery and to community. So there you have it. So
of Wirecast.
select the 3 files, tag them, whatever, and then upload them to the system. Oh, I guess I will show you how to create a folder. I thought I wasn't going to do that. All right, so yeah, brand new folder, that's it. Here. So this is, so before you used to go into your My Files, create a folder there, then share the folder into the community.
Wirecast.
Too many steps, right? So now you can just create a folder right from here, and off you go. Now you can just add 4 files, and again, you can choose as many files as you want, and add them directly to the community. I like to do that a lot when it's presentations that are, that are not really something that I'm going to be editing a lot. It's just for reference, because that way, when I upload to the community, they take space of the community. They don't take my personal space. So it's a quick way to cheat around the space limitation that your CIO or whoever may have imposed. Okay, I think 2 more things here. So as a community manager, one of the things that we got asked a lot was, is there a way to actually see open questions at the community level? Because we only had that at the global level, right? So if you had 40 communities and you were managing it, it was really hard to determine which questions belong to which community. So now you can come in here into the community forum and actually very quickly see what questions are pending.
Demonstration.
So here's one example. Let's say that you are a community manager, somebody who's actually moderating and bringing people together. Notice this question. There's a question here from Howard talking about Kenexa and looking for somebody from HR. That's from 2012. It hasn't been answered. So let's make that happen. Let's find the SME that can answer this question. So now what I can do is I can start typing in the top right of the screen, Kenexa, HR, and I want somebody senior, somebody who's really an expert in this area. So SEN for senior, and voila, Claudio comes up. So what we do is, this is an expertise search that takes advantage of your social graph. So we know who you work for, right? We know who you work with through activities or communities or whatever. We know what you're working on. We know the files that you're working on. So we take all that data into account and we predict who it is that you're trying to find, right? So it's a really smart search that takes advantage of all the data that's already in Connections to give you, in a couple of clicks, the person that you're looking for. So it's really powerful. Now, just like, just so that we don't break any patterns, notice that before when you search there, you would just search the current community. So if you want to just continue doing that, just hit enter, and then it will ignore the people search and go straight into the community search. But now I can take Claudio, click on that thread, and then bring Claudio in to the conversation via kind of mention, and have Claudio answer that question. Alright, so I'm going to log out and just show you the perspective of an external user. So let's say that Alex is now going to log in. Remember, I shared a file with Alex. Actually, I canceled out of it. But I was able to log in with the greenwell.com, so she's an external user. And when she comes in, notice in the top left, she doesn't have access to everything, right? So we've done a lot of work on the back end to really restrict what external users can see. So you guys have been running Connections now for 7 years, if you started all the way from 1.0. And so you probably have a lot of public files, public communities, wikis and so forth, that you really don't want that to be visible to external users. Right? So when she comes in as an external user, she has the stream, of course, and it's empty because she's brand new. And she will see content that has explicitly, that she has explicitly given access to. Right, so she will not see profiles, she can't search for people, she will not be able to see public files, public forums, etc. All of that is hidden, and she can only go to communities and to files. So that's the only 2 things that she can do. And of course, once she's inside the community, she becomes like any other member, right? So she can submit ideas, she can upload files, she can participate in activities, and the forum thread or whatever. So anything that a community member can do, she'll be able to do as an external user. So that's external users at a glance. This is one of those things that we did also to close a gap with Quicker. So Quicker gave you that ability to share content to external users and bring them in. So now you also have that ability with the connections as
Of
well.
Wirecast.
So with that, I do have one more thing. I was going to do mobile. Actually, mobile we released in, I think, May 11th as well. Did you all get it? Do you all have the latest running app, or who has it? Okay, 60%. That's actually lower than I expected. Make sure that you go to the Apple App Store or the Android Play Store or whatever and get the latest app. It works with your current deployment, so you're not going to break anything. You don't have to upgrade to use it. So go ahead and take advantage of that because it's really good. What I wanted to do is announce the public beta for the Mac plugin. So when you're here, come find me and give me your contact info. Here's how it's going to work. It's going to require you to be a cloud customer, or you have to be running 5.0 CR1. So yes, this is CR1 coming. So update to 5.0 as quickly as you can, and then CR1 is coming in Q3 pretty quickly. So, but I want to get your names and add you into the beta. We're going to have a webcast to launch this, and if you want to get a trial account on the cloud, you can do that as well and just play with it, and that way you don't have to update your deployment. I will say,
Of Wirecast.
I want your feedback. So I'm going to show you how it works, but I don't want people that want to be in the beta just to see it. I want you guys to play with it and actually give me feedback and make it better. So let me show you how it's going to work. So here's my sync folder. So just like we had on Windows, it's right under my favorites. So favorites, there's my sync folder. All the files that I want are there in my Finder window, so I can work with them. A couple of things, you can right-click on a file here, and then we actually plugged it into the Mac right-click window here. So notice that Connections is now available here. So I can click Connections, and that will give me the option to add a file into Connections. I just like to drag and drop, so you can do that as well. I'm not going to, well, I guess I can do it, but I'm offline. So let me take this WhatsApp file. I can drag and drop to sync, and whenever I'm back online, that's going to sync automatically. So you'll have to install a little plugin, of course, just like Dropbox or anything else, which is going to be monitoring this folder, and when there's any changes, we'll automatically sync that back. And of course, we're going to be using the Apple notification system as well. So as files are uploaded, we'll send you a push notification, and you'll see that right on your desktop. Now, I actually didn't test this, so I don't know if it's going to work. But the other thing you can do is, just like in Windows, you can also access the connections information from Finder. So I can right-click on the file, go into Connections. Oh, I guess it works. Okay, so now you can see it's been synced. So it's there. I can see all the versions for this particular file, only one version right now. I can see all the comments on the file. If I want to add a new comment, of course, just click on the plus sign. I can see how many likes, how many comments, how many downloads, blah, blah, blah. Everything's available there, right? So we really wanted to bring that Windows Explorer capabilities that people love into the Mac experience. And then sharing as well. I don't know you guys, but I've used our competitor's sync product, and I really hate having to open a browser, log in, find a file, just to share the file with somebody else or comment on the file, right? So that all goes away when you're using Connection Sync, because as you can see, right from here, I can actually sync, share with other people, right? So I can click on the plus sign, I'm offline, and then just share the file just like you would on the browser window. And of course, I can make the file externally accessible. So if I don't want to, I don't have to log into Connections or anything, right? So just drag and drop the file to sync, share that file externally, and then add the external person, and that's it. They get it. So that's the Mac. So again, we're going to start this in Q3. So we're getting 5.0 out the door. There's a couple server fixes that are required for this to work. So Cloud is going to get it first, of course. And then, like I said, 5.0 CR1 will come in Q3 as well to make this work. So contact me, tweet me, whatever. You know how to find me. So that's it. Actually, a couple more things to close up here. Are you excited about this? Where's Stuart? Oh, there we go. All right, so that means, so public beta in Q3, and hopefully you all like it and you all love it. And if you do, then we can just GA that by the end of the year. So that's the idea. If you don't like it and we have to make changes, then we'll probably delay that GA. But the idea is that I'm not going to get the question at the Ask the Product Managers on Connect 2015. So that's the idea. All right, so a couple of things. If you haven't been using, okay, so let me ask the question. Who's running Connections 4.5 here? Okay, so you're pretty up to date. 4.0? Okay, 3.01, nobody please. Okay, good. Who's not using Connections?
Wirecast.
All right, so it looks like 90% is using 4.5, so you guys are pretty up to date. So don't forget about all these other capabilities, right? So it's already part of the platform. We've done fixes throughout everything here. We also added postal surveys late last year, so that's available to you. Connections, the takeaway that I want you guys to have is it's your platform where everything comes together. So you have mail, docs, content, social, chat in one seamless experience. And one of the things that we want to do is, don't just leave it at that, right? When you combine Connections with our digital experience portfolio, you can pretty much build whatever you want to. This is the stuff that I did for the OGS. I did it. I'm not a programmer. I just used the APIs and what's available out of the box, the SDKs, and I was able to create something like this pretty quickly. If you really want to take Connections to the next level, that's really when you can truly build a social portal. So that's it. I don't know, do we do questions here? Or?
Yeah, we can do some questions. We have time for a couple of questions before we hand over. See if we have a question, please.
Easy questions.
Louise, hi. Are there any enhancements coming for CCM later?
Yes. So we're basically, one of the big things that's coming for CCM is the ability to restrict at the folder level who's the editor and who's the reader. So that was another gap that we have with Quicker, where in Quicker you could have folders with multiple permissions. So that's coming there. We're adding docs to CCM, so if you want to use docs with CCM, that's going to be there as well. The new files view that I showed, the thumbnails, that's also going to be available in CCM. And also I didn't show it, but we're gonna bring a CCM integration into Office. So just like the Quicker plugin integrated directly into Office, we'll have that with CCM as well. And the installer has been significantly improved, and I heard feedback, I'm blanking on the name, but we have a partner that did the beta install, and he loved it. So the CCM installer and the Cognos installer have been significantly improved as well.
Great, thank you. Is that 2014?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
There's a question in the back.
Any information on licensing for external
This
users?
is a demonstration
So,
of
1,000
Wirecast.
on-prem, and how many external users have to pay the
Yep.
license?
So the external use, do I still have it? So the external use, remember, they only get, I guess I lost it. Yeah. So the external user only gets communities and files. That's going to be included at no extra cost, so you don't have to pay. Now, if you want an external user and bring them in and give them the full functionality, then we still sell the external user license. So you can buy it. I'm all about making you happy. Any other questions? Oh yeah.
Right. The editor that you showed us, that is CK editor.
That's a CK editor. Yeah, we updated it to CK editor 4.4. So there's a bunch of new improvements there, like the copy paste for Word has been significantly improved. The table management in the wikis has been improved as well. So everything so we went from CK editor 3.6 to CK 4.4. So if you go to the CK page, everything that's new would also be here.
Okay, Luis, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, guys.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
So, hello, can you hear me? Well, hello everyone. My name is Luis Garza. I'm an innovation manager for Cemex. And different from what Luis Benitez told you a little bit earlier, I'm not an IBMer, I'm not a partner, I'm a customer. So what I will try to do today is to share with you what we have learned after using some of the tools that IBM provides to us. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the platform in itself because there's plenty of sessions that will cover that. But mostly I will try to share with you how that has impacted the culture of how Cemex works now and some changes even in the organizational structure that we accommodated to work more under this approach of open collaboration in the enterprise. Okay, so let me first introduce you our company, Cemex. We are the largest producer of ready-mix worldwide. We're one of the largest of aggregates and cement. So we encompass all the building materials that you will need for a construction site. We operate in more than 50 countries. We have more than 40,000 employees worldwide. And we were founded in Mexico more than 100 years ago. And basically, to sum it up, our business units start with aggregates, which is extracting the rocks from the quarries, and then having that material as the raw material for our cement plants when we have the powder that is used as a cement, as the raw material then for our last business unit, which is the ready-mix. You might recognize the trucks when we add some chemical admixtures to add some properties to the actual product, and to serve the needs of the communities in terms of infrastructure, building, etc. Of course. So it might sound a little bit odd that a company, a heavy manufacturing company, even a dusty company, have been so interested in social business. No? So let me go back to when we were kids, like the children here in the picture that we love to play with sand or with rocks and try to build out of something very simple, something that could have a nice use later on. No? So that's precisely our business. So, like I mentioned, we extract the rocks from the land, we manage them, we add some special properties, and we can then generate this marvelous infrastructure and construction architectural sites. So it's embedded more or less then into our culture. We try to do the same with the knowledge, where we take the expertise from the people
the raw ideas, and we want to share them and build upon them to generate more value to our shareholders. So that's more or less the culture that we're trying to follow in CEMEX, and that's why we have been so interested in social networking in the enterprise. So let me tell you a little bit about our history,
Demonstration of Wirecast.
our recent history, how we started our journey for innovation. Our company started to grow recently in the last few years through acquisitions to become one of the largest, as I mentioned, worldwide. Many times we have doubled our size through this acquisition, so it was difficult to get advantage of all this new knowledge that we were acquiring through the different companies. And in addition to that, in 2008, 2009, we had so very difficult times in the construction market, mainly due to the problems in the US and the crisis, when we just went through an acquisition there, that we needed to find out new ways to stabilize ourselves, to improve our financial situation during these difficult times. No? So that is why our top management bet into innovation as a way to stabilize first and then be prepared for the recovery on the next few years, which is our actual stage. We have improved a lot. The situation in construction is doing better,
Demonstration of Wirecast.
but we really want to leverage from the expertise of all the people. And also, very importantly, we are also looking into new ways of providing solutions to our customers. So new services and new solutions that didn't exist before. We are trying to leverage the expertise from the people to do this. So that's why we introduced Shift. You might have heard about our case, even some screenshots from Luis included this. This is our internal social collaboration network. Basically, it's an implementation of IBM Connection plus the Westfield portal. But more than just the platform, we talk about Shift as a cultural change inside the company. And I intentionally left this news from our internal network, from our CEO, Lorenzo Zambrano, who, well, we are a little bit sad because he just passed away a little bit more than a month ago. And he was actually the visionary that saw what was happening outside in the social networking, in the consumer lives, in our daily lives. And he saw the value that this could bring to the enterprise. So thanks to him and the top management, their sponsorship, is that we introduced this change into the company. We have also been honored to have received these awards through the use of our network, and probably because we were one of the first that started to deploy this in such a global scale. No? We started with Connections 2.0. Probably right now there are many more organizations that are already doing that. So we have learned some things along the way, but we are also trying to learn from what the newest implementations have gone through. All right, and one of the first things that we learned since the beginning was that the important thing wasn't the platform. No? The people should be at the center. So we needed to implement, and this is the most recent model that the organization deployed, where we are structured now, in addition to the current organizational situation, where you are accountable in your business country and your functional department. Our top management founded this model where we have global networks with the people in the center and then three components complementary to the people. So we start with a strategy where our top management decides on where we want to go and where this network should work. Then we have cooperation. What is the culture on how we should support each other to work towards the same goal. And then we have the knowledge. The knowledge, we have this concept of Semexpedia. I will later on show you more detail about that. We want to generate this repository following the same concept of Wikipedia, where all the best practices from our company could be stored and then searched to be replicated later on in our organization.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Well, this is just to show you that our priorities of these models have been changing since we introduced them in 2009. You might have seen that there are a little bit more listed at the beginning because some of them, well, the priorities at that time during the recession were different than in 2014. And one of the nice things about this is that some of those networks that we had at the beginning, that they were working in communities, in connections, now they have disappeared because they are the business as usual. Well, not completely disappeared, but they are no longer exist by themselves. They exist along another of the 6 global networks that we have today, that they continue working on those topics that we had before, but we already achieved those objectives, so we are now looking into what is next.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
When we introduced this change, the people started to wonder what could represent to the traditional roles. So we needed to publish a manifesto of what the networks model meant to them. So just to re-emphasize, it was about extracting the value of the company, reinforcing the culture of knowledge sharing and innovation, and we wanted to be more agile, to be smarter, to be work to the organization was from being good at what you are, in your functional department or in your country, to open the possibility to be great, because you exchange what you do and you also receive the best practices from the network and try to improve what you're doing in your daily job. So this is one of the elements of the networks model, the cooperation side, and these are the current six global networks that we have at CEMEX. 3 of them aggregate cement and ready-mix. They cover our main business units. And the other ones cover some topics that are important to us, like cost efficiencies in logistics, or finding new products and services. We like it to call it grow the pie. And we have also some functional networks. The functional networks work along the global networks, and they are the common departments of HR, IT, legal, etc. They have some representatives inside each of the networks to be aligned to these strategic priorities of the network and support when they are needed. So they work hand in hand. At a high level, how do these networks work? We start with the reception of the strategic priorities from the top management. So normally, starting the year, we set up the objectives, or each of the networks set up their objectives. And then they start to work, the circle in the middle. They meet monthly, at least, if not more often. Mostly what they do is share best practices. And the main elements that result in outcomes of these networks is, one is the global coordination. Through the visibility of these networks, they share all the projects that they are doing related to this specific topic. So they help to provide visibility to top management about a specific topic. Nothing gets left out. And then the other part is the policy making. So if a best practice is analyzed and the committee of the network concludes that there is a lot of value out of it, then it becomes a business principle of that business unit. So, for instance, recently, the ready-mix network have started to work a lot on how we are pricing our services and how we print them out in our invoice. Maybe in some countries we do it, and for some others, I don't know, we do it for free. So we're leaving money on the table, and this network talks about those cases and say, well, it should make sense to also implement that in my country. And now it becomes a mandatory principle that every regional operation of ready-mix should use that way of invoicing our services. Just to give you an example.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
The other component of it is the knowledge. I mentioned to you the CEMEXpedia. And it all starts with the toolkits. It is expected that these networks that work in the communities document all of these best practices, and in a package, documents, templates, videos, criteria, suggestions, etc. Everything that could facilitate other applications to replicate those best practices. So those toolkits, if we add them up, the input from all the networks, then we will get the SEMexpedia. Again, the SEMexpedia, we want to follow more or less the same concept of Wikipedia, of course, applies to CEMEX. We have our own team of editors, contributors, most of them in coordination with the networks, to get this knowledge repository of CEMEX. Okay. So what are the platforms that we use to collaborate? Again, the global networks are at the center. But then we have two main channels. We want the employees to provide inputs to these networks, and we want them on the other side how to share the work that they are doing. On the first part, how could any employee or could any member provide input to the networks? Well, of course, we have the main platform, which is Shift. We have the communities in IBM Connections. Each of the global networks have a community, which is the main vehicle that the team uses to follow up on the progress, on the questions, and also on the deliverables. But then we reinforce a lot of the work with the core team. We know that the human interaction, there's nothing that can replace it. So there are specific roles for regional representatives on each of these topics, that if somebody has an idea, they need to use this channel, or they could use this channel, we encourage them to do it, to provide direct input to the networks. Now, of course, we know that is not always possible, so we have conferencing systems, mobile applications, we have instant messaging, and at some point we also have some concepts that we branded, like Ask the Experts, and just to tell you a little bit about that, it's nothing more than a forum in a community, connections. But then we have the commitment of a certain group of people that is constantly monitoring this forum. And in less than 48 hours, you will receive an answer to the question that you posted there. So we even customize a mobile application that these guys, this network of champions that answer to this question, receive a notification of what they are doing and help the network in whatever challenge they have. And well, on the other hand, we have, well, very important to share the deliverables of the network. We use traditional channels like newsletters or reports. But then, of course, again, we use Shift to encourage people to use all of the components there to share the deliverables. No? One of the examples there, the photo that you see there, is from Jesus Gonzalez. He is the president of our operations in the UK, and he's very active in the blog. And one of the, probably why he attracted so much attention is that very smart, he named his blog An Open Line to Jesus. So everybody was really interested in having this communication channel open, and he has a lot of comments back from the people. So we have also some cartoons, following up on the humor, and even some games. Into the Kiln, we have if you go into cemex.com, it's a little game that one of our previous networks generated from alternative fuels, where you could be a flame into one of our cement plants and burn some waste, some tiles, some biomass, just to convey the message of what this network has achieved on substituting the use of traditional fuels. Instead, they are using now alternative fuels, and I will go deeper into that a little bit later on as one of the business results of our networks. But it's an innovative, more fun way on which they are sharing their deliverables.
This is a demonstration.
And then, of course, we have SEMexpedia. Just to emphasize a little bit more of that, there are 2 points that we are working on to refine it. One is to have a better search engine, because we want every article on Semexpedia to be found very quickly. And then the other is part of the loop here, is through the analytics of what has been your activity inside Connections, what has been your participation, what is your role, etc., to present the information that comes from Semexpedia. So not only looking for the information or searching for the information, but also receiving a recommendation of what could be useful from this knowledge repository. Okay. Well, but you should know that, this is not an easy change in the users. No? You need to show them through examples or push them a little bit to know what could be the benefit that they could get out of this new way of working. No? So our team, the innovation team, is in charge also of many types of adoption campaigns, which try to show the value, mostly through the use of use cases. No? And whenever there is a new feature that has been introduced in Shift, we use several campaigns. And any Star Wars fans in the room? Through the use of, was a funny story when we introduced the content manager Connections. We talked with the people from the legal department because they were having problems using their contract management. And we thought that, content manager could be a good solution to that. And it was a nice conversation. At the beginning, it was difficult to approach them because they were having problems seeing if it was secure enough for them, for the contracts. But after showing the different features and even IT certifying the security of the information, they were convinced, and they told us that they were now on the dark side. They were with us now in a positive way. And that's why this joke become now later on a campaign. No? What better use case that using legal contract management as a way to show that this feature could be valuable for the rest of the organization. Then we have ongoing tips. We have what we call the chief mornings, informal gatherings that in the office's cafeteria. We just sit down with the people that's coming and going, show them some of the features, show them how some groups use that, and we have consumed a good amount of coffee during those gatherings. And finally, we have also launched some specific challenges to the networks, with a specific topic. In this case, you see here Carl Watson. He is the president of our Cemex US operations, but he is also the leader of the ReadyMix Global Network. And very ad hoc with the World Cup, he distributed the countries in different groups and made a competition that, one of the objectives is to get the value-added products sold in ReadyMix. Those products where you could get a premium out of them. So they launched this competition, and whoever won the prize will get some expenses to go and observe directly from those countries that made it better to replicate those best practices. So it was mostly a competition to replicate best practices. So some of the business results. I mentioned the case of alternative fuels. We have received the award of being leader of the alternative fuels. We increased from 5 to 7% to 25 to 27% today. But like I said, probably the most interesting development is that right now this network is no longer one of the 6 that I listed, because now it's business as usual. And this group of people is now looking into the next level of what they can improve into the cement operations. The other result of the ReadyMix global network has been the introduction of value-added products. It's very difficult to introduce ReadyMix as a global brand because the market is very local. But this group, through the network has been able to achieve that. And not only they have released these 3 global brands, maybe you have heard about those before, about our case, but the most recent results is that now they have been focusing on impacting the bottom line, so they have a KPI that they could follow now. And they have impacted, I mean, they can change their strategy now to increase the percentage that they sell in different locations. And finally, well, one of the most recent networks is called Grow the Pie. That's how we like to call it. And basically is to find new payment or housing solutions where we could charge a premium for services. And in this case, we have over 300 payment projects that we have received in the last year.
Demonstration of Wirecast.
We have several tools coming on the roadmap. The numbers do not match, but Chief 4.0 will be based on Connections 5 or the next version that will come. Shouldn't say that. And then we have some other streams of work. Actually, one of them, a pilot that now has become a feature of Shift. I will talk tomorrow about that, and it's called IBM Forms. Now we call it Shift Forms inside the centers. And well, I invite you if you would like to hear about it. We have resolved the development of many enterprise applications through that. So, well, I didn't spend too much time on the technology because that is precisely one of our lessons learned. We keep the tools out of the conversation when we approach these business groups because we want to provide some success story. That is the best way in which we have found that we can convince the people to use this new approach or this new way of working. Now, as you have seen on the slides, we link the main communities to business metrics. It's part of our culture, and it helps you not to justify this effort on collaboration that is not for the sake of collaboration, but is impacting also the business results of the company. The leaders, like the Open Line to Jesus blog, they need to promote by example. It's very important, motivate the people to do it.
Demonstration of Wirecast.
And keep the communication flowing. No? Give visibility of what is coming, and that helps to close the loop and make the people participate more in what they are doing. So this is more or less what lies ahead, very briefly. The global network will be evaluated, and they are constantly changing. So they might change topics, or they might change also leaders to provide a French point of view. We will update the technology platform. There are 2 main topics, the mobile access and the external access. And we will also consolidate Semexpedia, both in terms of the technology. I talked about the search algorithms and this personalized learning path, but also, of course, on the content. This network needs to work on the toolkits to populate Semexpedia with more critical information. And well, it has been quite a journey. We are always glad to share what we have learned, but we are also eager to hear from other cases what you have learned from your experiences. And well, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Luis. We have probably
This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of
Achieving
Wirecast.
things on opening their conversation, it helped to convince more and more the levels of inside the company to open the conversations.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Luis. So we have a coffee break now. That'll be served through the hallway at the back. You're welcome to bring your coffee and tea in here if you wish. The reason I say that is because we're going to start the next session 10 minutes earlier.
This
So
is a
about 5
demonstration of
past.
Wirecast.
truly delighted to have Kramer Reeves and also HB Darwin here to discuss social mail and what's coming next for that technology. So we're going to give them an extra 10 minutes over what we had budgeted, so we've got 55 minutes on this topic. So guys, take it away.
Thank you, Stu. I was just checking the Wi-Fi, it doesn't seem to be working. It's such an honor to be talking about mail in a social business conference. I've no words. So when I told Kramer that I was going to present on our social mail roadmap and strategy, I asked him if he wanted to talk about notes to a bunch of Outlook customers, and of course he couldn't resist. So I invited Kramer, and I'm very, very, very proud to be co-presenting the IBM Social Mail roadmap with Kramer Reeves, our Director of Messaging. Kramer?
Okay, thanks HP. You guys hear me okay? Is that clear? Good? Okay. I think I was introduced as the new Ed Brill recently. Ed definitely knows good food better than I do, but what he doesn't know is football or soccer. So that's the real reason I came over, was to be in a proper country that appreciates the World Cup. Although I'm sorry that Czech Republic don't have Nedved and the team playing again. So I'm going to take a few minutes and talk a little bit about the connection to social. Then HP is going to come back and give you a few demos, and then I'm going to talk to you about Mail Next. Before I start, how many folks went to Connect in Orlando? Okay, so there's a few of you. How many saw the Mail Next demo? Did you come to our individual? Okay, good. So some of you saw that. I'm going to show that again today and spend a few more minutes talking about some of the concepts and the progress. And so this might be a little bit of a repeat for some of the folks over there, but I'll give you a bit of an update today as well. We'll be talking about some forward-leaning concepts as usual. Let's see if we can get our clicker going. Okay. Just a little bit of a delay there. Okay, so some forward-leaning concepts. I'm going to share a little bit of the roadmap, and as usual, some of this we're very committed to doing. Some of it is visionary, and I want you to see the whole picture. One of the great things about being in this division, and this is about my 1-year anniversary being over here. Some of you know I spent about 11 years in the WebSphere division. I grew up in the SOA and the integration space. I carried a lot of the business process, business rules, those solutions, and we did about 5 or 6 acquisitions that applied to the growth of the portfolio there. As we were building up the business, collaboration started to seed into our business process environment, and I got exposed to what Jeff Schick was doing in this division, and I got very excited. And so when the opportunity came about 1.5 years ago to come over and lead and reimagine some of the new ways we're going to be looking at our messaging portfolio, our application development from a Domino perspective. I also have the same time business, Docs, and some of the open office capabilities. I got very excited. And the new campaign that just rolled out called Made with IBM, it was very exciting to see a lot of the products and a lot of our customers being highlighted in this. This is an evolution from our Smarter Planet strategy, and this reinforces a lot of the priorities we have across IBM, which are essentially in 3 areas from our CEO. The first being the cloud, the second being big data and analytics, and the third being around engagement. And it's around engagement that the concepts of social business, mobile solutions, and how we can truly delight our customers plays into what we're trying to do in my portfolio as well. So that's what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about. This campaign has just been rolled out. It'll start hitting Europe shortly. It'll start hitting some of the major sporting events, and it's very exciting to see us continue as as a company on our the next chapter of the Smarter Planet. A couple of these points Luis, I think, hit on, but I wanted to reinforce our leadership in the social business and how that leadership is helping us to drive more investment across the platform, across our messaging business, across Domino, across Same Time, to tie together to build this completely integrated set of capabilities. And so for the 5th year in a row, as you probably know, we were named the leader by IDC. You know, that leadership is based on quite a bit of investment from our customers, and as we continue to go out and talk to them, this concept of collaboration continues to be a priority for the C-level audiences. So the C-suite study, 4,000 interviews. These are face-to-face interviews that we do. And one of the big points that is coming to bear over and over again is the ability or the desire to collaborate externally. And so today, 20%, down the road, 2-3 years, 70 or 80%. So the demand is there now to get ready for the future, and we're preparing. Now, if I dive a little bit deeper, if I just look at the CEOs, we just looked at 800 of these interviews, a little bit, with a little bit more of a magnifying glass. And these are CEOs from around the world. And, you know, one of the key things that you're going to start seeing in the way that we are looking at this, at the market, is that the CEO's mindset is changing. It's shifting to become more open. And it isn't necessarily due to choice or due to desire, it's due to necessity. These CEOs recognize they've got to expand their environments and they need to be able to collaborate beyond the environment. And in fact, if you look at the various stakeholders within a company's environments, either the employees or the partners or the customers, the expectation, that shift that's going to occur, control and openness, you can see the shift of going down in the desire. So the orange is 2013, the red is 2012, going down and having more control and going up and being more open. I mean, this is really phenomenal that the trend is happening there, and well, maybe not so phenomenal. It's somewhat expected, but now it's validated based on the CEOs confirming that this is what they want and what they demand. So from a messaging, now you know what we showed you earlier and how our social platform has been constructed in a way to be able to take advantage of this external collaboration. Even across all of our portfolio, this is a key priority. In messaging, we started this back in 853 by beginning the interoperability with our Connections environment by being able to have Notes Domino embed or entitle some of the files and profiles capabilities. And with 9.0 and 9.01, you're going to see how we've taken that even further to be truly social in the way customers interact from a messaging platform. So this is where we're headed, and it's because our customers, such as this large manufacturing company in Italy, wants to take advantage of the input that their customers want to give. Their partners, their stakeholders, their entire ecosystem. And the more that we can provide this environment, the more that you as customers and our broader customer base has an environment in which to innovate and build products and services that truly match the market's needs. And in a sense, you've maybe seen this quote before, this is why our Senior Vice President continues to invest heavily in this space. And in fact, we'll talk a lot about social and mobile, and today you've heard a little bit about analytics and the infusion of intelligence. We'll talk some more about that as well. But first I'm going to let HP go a little bit deeper into the result of our investments from a social perspective so that you can see that we've taken to task, this desire and really this mandatory need to bridge the messaging environment, the mail environment with the social environment. And I think you're going to like what you see from a Notes perspective as such.
I'm hoping we have Wi-Fi, but let's see. So I'll try my best to be Ron Sebastian. Okay. 2013 is a great year for Notes and Domino. 2013 is what I call a comeback year. We released 9.0 and 9.01, and I think the most significant update to Notes in a decade at least. We saw a couple of very significant competitive wins. Connections customers on Outlook, ditching Outlook for Notes. We're going to deep dive on one of them tomorrow, so if you're interested, if you're using Outlook today and you're interested in learning why you should use Notes, please come to Omar and my session tomorrow, and we'll deep dive on the use cases that convinced a company in the UK called SSP to ditch Outlook for Notes, and they're currently rolling out Notes now. Okay. First of all, how many in the room recognize and know what that is? Facebook. I didn't expect it. Come on guys, you're social. I expected a lot of hands. Okay. This is TweetDeck. It's one of the first applications that aggregated your social streams into one common view. Okay, it used to be mobile. It used to be a desktop client that supported multi-platforms. And at one point in time, I had TweetDeck running on my Ubuntu on Adobe Air, and I was very, very happy. At that point in time, it aggregated streams from Twitter, from Facebook, from Foursquare. And actually monitoring Foursquare streams aren't that interesting, once by accident, using TweetDeck. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I do not provide a lot of, what shall we say, thought leadership around social business. My passion is music, so I was ripping my entire CD collection, and I wanted to make a particular tweet about an album cover. Accidentally, I had ticked the LinkedIn update on TweetDeck. So my one contribution ever to LinkedIn. Who would think this is a progressive rock band from the 70s? It's Bee Gees. That's the sleaziest album cover ever. Anyway, let's talk about Notes 9. It was under development for 18 plus months. We made a commitment to change the playing field in messaging, okay? Notes is no longer an application or just a mail client. With Notes 9, we did something more. We created an aggregator. We spent about $100 million, give or less, a few cents, on the development of Notes 9. The three overarching goals was to significantly modernize it, which we did. That's the easy part of it. We wanted to enhance the easiness of use. Those that have used Notes for 20 years love its usability. And finally, we wanted to introduce the social capabilities with embedded experience, with activity streams, so you can act on social content in the context of your collaboration with clients. Why? Because we know that the #1 challenge for becoming a social business is adoption. And we firmly believe that if we move adoption of social capabilities to where the users spend most of their time, that will help you drive adoption inside of your organization. This is about discovery of content. This is about sharing content, and this is about finding content and updates and things like that very easily without moving from one system to another. This is what it looks like. I'm hoping we have Wi-Fi so I can live demo it. Otherwise I have a video. For those of you using another mail client, it looks pretty much the same, although we have some things that are quite specific to Notes. We have sidebar widgets with integrated instant messaging, we have presence awareness, and of course we have the embedded experience that nobody else does. So, I'm going to see if I can show it to you live now. I don't have Wi-Fi. looks like I won't get Wi-Fi either. So, this is from a time when I was very young. You will recognize the profile picture. I was even clean shaven. And it gives away how many years I've been working for this company. And I was even called Omar back then. Omar, me, received an email. Sorry. No, yeah. So the first thing I want to show is use of live text inside an email. Okay. So Omar, me, received an email from Matt about a new employee called Lana. And we see Lana's name there in blue. I can click on that text, that is live text, and it will open Lana's profile page in Connections. This is Lana. I will scroll a little bit up and down. I will take a look at her updates, her tags. I'll see what kind of comments she's making on other people's posts, just to get to know Lana a little bit. Okay? This is from Notes. And don't worry about this. This is the activity stream. Okay, so I'm going to spend just a little bit of time here. This is the activity stream inside of Notes. Now this pulls activity and information from Connections. It isn't limited to Connections. Okay, we can easily imagine a scenario where you surface Facebook updates, Twitter updates, etc. Just going back to what I said though, those companies, they make their money from advertising. So the APIs will be limited, or at some point we have to decide whether or not to allow Facebook advertising inside of Notes, which is what we're doing now. I can act on this content in context inside of my email. Okay, I'm still inside of Notes doing this. I'm reading the updates. I can go to my app mentions, to my updates, and I can do everything that I would do in Connections inside of Notes. I can make comments, I can share, and I can like. I look at so another thing is, again, this is just my inbox, okay? And from profiles, you see that Erwin has posted in Connections and has mentioned me in a message on Connections. So I want to see what that is. All I have to do is open the email, and I'll see embedded inside of the email, I'll see Erwin's message. I can like it, I can share it, I can comment it, I can add mention, I can do whatever I want inside that email. So I'm going to make a comment here. Okay, and I can post it, and I don't have to leave notes. So the next thing I want to show is you can do the same with blogs. So you can go into the blog from blogs. You can read blogs, you can comment blogs, you can share blogs, you can like it, etc. So this is what a file looks like in the embedded experience inside of Notes. So somebody shared a file with me. I can comment on it, I can like it, I can share it, and I can upload new versions. Inside of Notes still, I have not left Notes once showing you this. Okay, now how about emails? You can actually send email from Notes as well, believe it or not. So I'm going to respond to an email, and I'm going to add some content to my email. So I'm going to add a link to an activity from my sidebar widget. I'm just going to drag and drop an activity, and I'll put it into that email. The activity resides in Connections. The same I will do with files. I'm going to search for a couple of files that I think that Lana will enjoy reading. Okay. I'll just search and I'll drag and drop. I'll find files shared with me and files shared by me in this widget as well, and I'll just drag and drop it, and I'll send the email. Actually, I won't. Before I send it, I just remembered that I wanted to add another recipient to that email. Once I found the last file, which doesn't take long. So I go into my same time contacts, which is my instant messaging contacts. I find Leon, and I drag and drop Leon's name into the to field of the email, and then I send the email. I think this is pretty impressive stuff. So we've transformed Notes from a traditional collaboration client to a very powerful social business tool. This is available now. What I've showed you is just a subset of some social business use cases, real, genuine use cases that will help drive social business adoption in your organization. And this is one of the reasons why Outlook customers are coming to IBM to guide them in their social business journey. So for a deeper dive, join Omar and me and me, tomorrow for a deeper dive on the use cases we used when we spoke to SSP and we made them transform from traditional email to social business, social mail. Do we want to wrap it up with a quote from Matt Cain?
This is one of the lead analysts in the space. Matt Cain is one of the sort of market makers in the space from Gartner. We had a strategic advisory session with him, and we went through our roadmap, we went through all the capabilities, spent 8 hours with him going through the portfolio, talked about Domino, and also about the future, which I'll show you in a second. And his comment was shown here. He made it not once but twice in the full day, saying that this is a rock solid platform that IBM has and that our customers have invested in. So it's a great validation from one of the leading third-party institutions out there on the platform that we have. Now, it's not enough though. We have to do more. And that's really where the future comes in. So this was a quote from once we announced MailNext at Connect. The CMS Wire reporter wrote this article, and it really sums up essentially what we're trying to do. What HP showed you is very efficient. It's clean, it's been updated, it's solid, it's integrated, the interoperability is nice, yet we haven't really evolved in the messaging space in 20 years. It's still the cascading flood of notices, the cascading flood of email that's coming in day by day. And I don't know about you, but I get hundreds and hundreds of emails every day, and I would like a better way to solve the problems that they represent, the challenges, the actions that they represent. Some of you have seen me talk about this chart. The left side is where the application space is. The right side is where work gets done over email and spreadsheet. And that's not something we've really addressed much as an industry. There's a huge opportunity, not just for us, but for our partners to continue to evolve in this space. Some of our partners have, in fact, folks like eProductivity and SaneBox, Write, and others. We're trying to help that progression with what we're doing with MailNext. The data shows that emails aren't going away. In fact, they're increasing. And even more data shows that the amount of savings, the amount of money, pure dollars that we can address directly by focusing on messaging and email problems that we have every day is tremendous. David Allen, actually one of the influencers of eProductivity, wrote the book 10, 12 years ago, Getting Things Done, has a philosophy. I agree with many parts of David's philosophy. I agree entirely with this quote, though, which is the heart of the problem. And we're we're trying to move, right? I think the trend is occurring to move work to the social space where it really belongs. We've set the groundwork there for that to happen. The integration is there to begin. We just saw HP in a lovely fashion work with communities, work with blogs, work with activities to do this. But there's more to be done. There's much more to be done, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. So ultimately, we want to give you back an hour a day. That's the goal. You know, now what can I do with an hour a day? I can definitely catch up on my soccer scores. I can definitely run more, or I can give direction to my team in a better fashion than answering all these emails that come in. I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of time answering email. So you know this story too. Emails, information sharing. Part of that is spam. It's the actions, though. 40% of our email are actions, and that's the 40%. That's the part of the problem that I want to try to solve. What can we do in a better fashion to address that? A few of the competitors looking at this, but nobody solved this problem yet. Okay, so there's an opportunity for us to solve this. The apps in the App Store, we've looked at them. Productivity apps are the second most, productivity is the second most popular category in the App Store. Right after games, even more popular than music is productivity for apps. So they're being downloaded. Stay on Task is one. Take Note is another. There's about 8 others. There's 500 applications out there, all trying to address the same problem. But none of them are really getting to where we want to be. And that's where we come up with MailNext. I gave the team 2 mandates. I wanted to have a place that I enjoy working. Now, Notes is a good place. It's not a great place to do my work every single day. I'd like a modern experience, much more modern. I'd like it to be more intuitive, much more gesture-based. I'd like it to have some analytics in there, and some place that I would really like to work in. Plus, I'd like it to work for me. We're in that era with cognitive computing where we can get the systems to work for us much more nicely. In fact, IBM just did another acquisition in the Watson space that helps us even further with some of the cognitive capabilities that we can bring in to our social business environment. We announced the Watson Foundations as part of our Connects environment at Connect. We are doing quite a bit in this area. In fact, John Gordon, who's the Vice President of the Watson product team, is a good friend of mine. He and I and some members of his team, we're talking a lot. This is a very exciting time to have the systems to begin working for us. IBM is in a very strong leadership position when it comes to this. So, MailNext is predicated on a lot of these principles. First and foremost, it is based on Domino, as we mentioned. Your investment, the investments that our customers, tens of thousands of customers have made, is going to be maintained. This is a fantastic messaging platform that we're also moving to the cloud. It's in the cloud. We'll continue to innovate. We're moving to software data centers around the world. And we continue to add new enhancements, new features, and new capabilities to it. MailNext adds 3 key things that I'll be talking about. The ability to focus, the ability to find, which is more than just searching, and the ability to do, the ability to take action. When we showed this to Charlene Lee, who's one of the leading analysts in the space, she's got about 50,000 followers, this was her response.
Can I just ask?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. HP, go ahead.
He said that the 4 strategic areas for IBM as a company is social, mobile, cloud, and big data. And Notes and Domino today, there's 3 out of those very, very well. Social, mobile, cloud. MailNext is very much about big data and analytics. And the notion is imagine what your inbox knows about you. Probably things that you don't want to spouse to. So the idea is to harvest the information contained in your inbox and present you with an actionable list of to-dos at the start of your workday every day. And probably the analytics capabilities are good enough so that they can automatically respond to about 80% of your emails anyway, because it can predict that you're going to respond.
Good setup. Should we flip over? So before we do, you can just kind of see the design here, and the design concept. I'll drive it from over here. The design concept you'll see is really, I'm just going to let that wife comment go aside there. I don't even know how to reply to that one. But in fact, it's somewhat pertinent because I miss a lot of mails from my wife. They're not the priority emails that show up in the middle of the day that get my attention. But what if that top left box could be my wife? I would really like that. You know, now I could color code and write a rule and have any email from her pop up in red or some other color. But, you know, what about my boss? And what about Huguette, my head of sales for Europe? I don't want to miss an email from her. And she's sending emails at 2 or 3 a.m. to me. So when I wake up at 6 or 6:30, there's a whole bunch of emails, and hers may already be off the page, and I may miss it.
She sends email at 2 a.m. to me too.
Yeah. 2 a.m. Eastern time in the U.S. I want a way to prioritize what I see, and I want a way to easily do that. And so the top you can see is a concept that we call sets, and it's predicated on search technology that allows us, in a quick drag and drop, create a saved search. And then that creates a set. Now initially it's a set of 1, but we already have the technology working, so it can be sets of multiple. So say there's a thread. It's about maybe a customer in Copenhagen. And we're getting emails. The customer wants Citrix support for X functionality and backward compatibility for Internet Explorer, 3 or something. Email.
Just picking a random topic.
Just a random topic, one that has never come up before. I would like, can I just take that thread of emails and put that in a set, and now I've got that conversation grouped? I'm in a bunch of groups at work, and I'm in a bunch of groups in my personal life. I'm in a running group. Can I just have all my running group emails in one thread? Can I have those from that group? Can I have my emails from my management chain? All of those grouped. And that's kind of the idea on the top.
You're all set up, just hit space.
Okay, thanks. On the middle, you'll see some calendaring things, and I'll show you a little bit about that. And then down at the bottom, the action tracking portion of this, where is there a better way to really combine the concepts of follow-ups and the to-do apps to bring that together into a single, really dead simple type of environment? So let's just start this, and we'll go into the initial perspective. I was talking about the sets up at the top. You can see that these folks have various numbers here associated with them. They could be, that could be chats, it might be mail, it might be notifications, it could be a number of things. Over on the far right, you saw the inbox, of course, we'll be able to do that on a single click. We are looking at ways around the calendar to improve how the calendaring is rendered. We actually demoed that on April 23rd with some live code. It looks a little bit different than this, but the code is running that really reimagines how we can pop up at a moment's notice, essentially, what is most important to you next. If I'm getting ready to go into a meeting, how quickly can I get up to speed on the people, the content, and the purpose of the meeting before we get started? Many times I'm in meetings back to back to back, and there's no break. I'm late to meetings. I want a way to really hone in on that subject matter. So that's a big part of what we're looking at. And then, as I mentioned down along the bottom, how can we track action? We're looking at this concept of managing the email debt that I accumulate throughout the day. we've got this running very nicely as well. The idea that simple drag and drop, I'm tracking that email, it's an action. And then I'll show you a little bit later how we're going to integrate this with Connections and how Activities is the longer term home for this. But can I do this in a simple fashion right in my inbox?
Kramer, can I just add? So we introduced the concept of I owe others and others owe me. Okay? So my actions are what I owe to others. So what is an email? An email is just transportation of information and to-dos, right? We transport information today incredibly well, but we don't really deal with our to-dos in particular, right? They're hidden inside our inbox in a sequential way. So that's the idea with MailNext, is that we harvest the to-dos from our inbox and we present it with a very actionable I owe others. Okay? So email is just a transportation tool in this context. This is where the actual real work happens.
That's good. And the other thing about this that is really important, as you were mentioning, so action that I need to take and action that I'm waiting on others. And we're really cycling through some different options right now with the development team on what's the most appropriate way to assign an action to somebody that I want to do work for me. Like I don't necessarily want to give my general manager an action, although sometimes I will send him a note and ask for some information. So what's the balance of that, and how can we do that mechanically? Technically we can do it. The user designs are a big part of how we're making some suggestions and choices here. So, as HB mentioned, these are some of the key parts of the concepts. So let's drill down. You see here Min, this is our example persona. We're going to dive into to her set, and we're going to see, immediately now we can interact with her in various ways. We can chat with her, we maybe can schedule a meeting, we can answer an alert, we can answer an email. There are various options here, and the purpose is to allow us to focus in and have our capabilities targeted at the person and eventually the subject, and I'll get to that in a minute, of our attention, of our priority. So here we're looking at email, and again we're looking at various options here. We drill into the email, and immediately you see that there's 3 different emails there, mails from Min. What essentially has happened here is the search has performed the prioritization of what the content is for that particular, that prioritized subject or person. Everything on the page, in fact, is based on Min. So the idea is that I've got files, I've got actions that I'm waiting for Min. You can see that I'm waiting on 7 different actions from her. I'm also waiting on, she's waiting on 2 actions from me. And we'll just kind of play this through a little bit. You can see some of the different topics. So here's one action where the materials that we need to start a project. This is an action to me. What am I going to do with this? Okay, I could reply, I could respond, but maybe I want to be able to track this. One of the other things, I'm skipping over one thing, is the concept of who are all these people in this thread? This is a concept called Team Analytics. This is actually a capability that's running now inside of IBM that we're going to be bringing into our environment. There's a number of different of these capabilities that we're bringing together to show the relationships. And we talked a little bit about the social graph. Now that we've got the relationships, can we bring in some of the intelligence of the social graph to even start predicting relationships as well? So Team Analytics gives me at a glance, at a click, these relationships. And in fact, with published APIs, the ability to show this externally and to pull in LinkedIn relationships is also part of the potential. So if I'm in a meeting with folks outside of the organization, I can tie that into my own directory and get a full perspective of, say, a customer or a partner or a set of external folks that aren't in my internal directory. So So that's the concept of team analytics. This was the next point about the actions. We wanted to show that how easily can we track mail-based actions. And with a simple click, we want to be able to show that our action that we're tracking is recognized and that we can remember this. And this is the whole point of the system of memory. Can we make that a better and easier environment? The other capability that we're working on is threading. Now there's a lot of different things with threading that are going on right now. One of the big ones is the idea of removing the clutter from your inbox, and in order to do that, one of the things we're looking at is muting threads. And the ability to parse that off, but not delete it, not even necessarily archive it, but have a way to remove myself from a thread. And I get copied on a lot of emails, but I don't necessarily need to see them until the resolution has occurred. So muting threads is a big part of MailNext. The whole concept of threading is being reimagined. Now here we dive into the search technology. This again, it's based on Solr. We've got this running inside IBM. If you want to see this working, we can show you afterwards and show you a little internal demo. One of the things that you'll see is the faceted search capabilities on the left side. So we're building this in a way that you're accustomed to when you shop online, whether or not you're shopping in the U.S. For example, if you're shopping for at an Amazon, or if you're shopping at an online retailer, what are those facets? Can you drill down even further in your mail? Search technology has come a long way, but the representation of the indexes has not. And so that's being overhauled in a way that's going to really simplify searching across the business. You can see initially we show two types of facets here. There could be more. We're showing the type and the time. So the type of messages and the time, there could be others as well. So again, we have searched, if I just pause, we searched for Project Greenwell. Everything that appeared on this page is related to that project. So we've drilled into messages, to files, to calendars, to contacts, to people, to meetings, links, everything related to that. We now have that ability to hone in and focus and really find what we're trying to look for. And inline representation we're showing here of certain files is part of some of the work that Luis showed you as well that we're going to incorporate in MailNext also. So these are just a couple of the features that are key parts of the way we're rendering this, and it all is predicated on this ability to hone in. Now, if we take it a step further, we've already built the integration with social. That came out in 8.5.3, improved dramatically in 9.0 and 9.01 even further. But can we make that an even easier experience? The goal is 2 clicks or less to be able to share or move threads, or move mail, or move actions over to your social environment. So think about a thread of work that needs to go to a wiki, or a particular mail-based action that you want to move over to an activity and turn into a formal to-do. That is going to be so simple. Right now we have the capability. It's only going to get easier. This is a prototype of how we might do that into a community to share this particular thread. How can we get that into a particular forum topic? Again, one click. So that's just a couple of the key capabilities that we wanted to show around MailNext. The ability to drill into the key people, the management team, your peers, your direct reports, your uplines, maybe your spouse or partner or family, groups that you're a part of. Not just people though, the vision extends to be about subjects as well, to be about concepts. If you're rolling out say a branch, a new retail outlet, a bank, you want to aggregate all the information related, the communication related to those messages in one place. So, let's see, do I just do an alt tab here?
Yep. F11. F5, sorry.
Okay. So the roadmap, I'm going to show you just a specific roadmap here about MailNext, and then I'll pop out to the Notes Domino roadmap. We did a webcast on April 23rd. We have preview 1 occurring about now. We'll do another webcast on July 23rd, and we'll do another preview in 3Q. We're in the process of signing up nominations for our design advisory program, an evolved version of our design partner program. We will notify the customers who are part of that over the next couple of weeks. We're going to start with 40 companies, then we'll expand up to 100, and the 100 will occur in 3Q, and then we expect to have an initial release in 4Q. Timing alongside this is also the next iteration of our Smart Cloud environment. So we intend to have an update, a major update to our Smart Cloud environment coming up in 3Q. And with that gives us the ability to iterate quickly on MailNext in the cloud. Again, part of the big picture here, we've been talking about this for a while. There's a strategy of choice and a commitment to a platform of either on-premises or in the cloud, either private or public or hybrid. In addition to that, we are investing significantly in the ability to offer choice to our customers, regardless of what environment you want. Certainly, it's our intent to evolve and to drive the strategy and the investment around MailNext. This is where we believe the differentiation and the delight will occur from our environment. We will build that on Domino again as we recognize that as a rock-solid platform. Here's the longer-term Notes Domino roadmap, again subject to change, and it is our intent to do this. The point being, lots of investment occurring. We have iterations occurring frequently. In fact, in 2013, we had 37 updates to our cloud environment. I think 17 of those were public-facing. Others were part of the SoftLayer acquisition, and we continue to invest further in SoftLayer. I think you know that we're moving up to 40 data centers around the world, a lot of that based on the SoftLayer acquisition, a big commitment by the business. But our on-premises business continues, and in fact, we're looking at our version next of on-premises Notes Domino. There are some other capabilities that we do believe we're going to bring forward into the on-premises version. The cloud continues, and then I'm not spending much time today on Traveler, but our mobile environment is an extensive amount of investment as well, both from a security perspective as well from a platform choice perspective. iOS, Android, Windows, and BlackBerry continue to be supported, and we are in the process of investigating and determining our iOS native application as it relates to MailNext. Android, of course, we already have our native experience there. Go ahead.
Just wrap up on the roadmap. So the way to look at this is MailNext is ever only going to be a browser client. It's going to be delivered in the cloud first. There is a roadmap to bring it on premises. So your transition to MailNext is through iNotes. And if you haven't checked out iNotes 9, you should, because it rocks. Okay, it's the best thing that we've done ever. iNotes 9. Notes is going to live as a rich client as long as there's a need for it. And any customer I speak to these days, they're looking for a transition to browser clients. Very functionality rich browser clients, and that's what we are attempting with MailNext. So your path to MailNext is iNotes.
All well, this is my wrap-up slide. So I think there's a match starting in a little bit with Germany. I've got to stay up till 11 p.m. to watch Ghana in the U.S. tonight. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm on a red eye, but this is an exciting time, not just because of the World Cup, but because of major investments that we're making in our platform. And I hope you stay with us. If you're using Outlook with Connections, I understand. I just wanted to expose you to some of the great functionality that we have and maybe get you to consider some of the new and reimagined messaging environment that IBM is bringing to market. And if you're on Notes or if you're considering moving to the cloud, you're making a great decision. And of course, I know all of your Connections customers, so that's our primary social environment, of course, as well. So with that, I just want to thank you. I'm happy to take some questions afterwards. I think we're just about out of time, but I'll stand off to the side if you all have anything you want to ask.
Timing was spot on. Thank you.
Okay, thanks HB. Thanks for having me.
We do have time for one quick question if anybody has a question for these guys.
Okay.
Controversial.
Any of my customers here? Oh, good. So, you mentioned on one of your slides about Outlook.
Yes.
And that Outlook was going to have limited availability. Now, lots of my customers love Outlook because they use it in a social, in a personal context. And they want to use Outlook as the platform for notes. So, despite all that you were saying, is Outlook going to be supported moving forward or not?
Yes, Outlook will be supported.
But
that's our intent. And right now it's under limited availability in our current environment, but it is our intent to support Outlook, to give choice to our customers in our messaging environment. That is a definitive yes.
But we are never going to put social features in Outlook. That's
right.
That was
like Microsoft didn't social anyway, so.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
Okay, great guys, thank you so much. I do like the appeal for popularity with the World Cup. I think it's fantastic.
I thought you might like that from a Yank, that I can recognize a little bit of
I know
true
your
sport
football knowledge, so well done. And you call it soccer, right? So additional kudos for that.
Thanks for staying and listening to us. Thank you.
Fantastic. So we're going to hand over to Mark Osborne, who's coming up now. So thank you so much for listening to these guys. I also hope you'll forgive us for having a Notes and Dominoes-centric conversation here at this conference, but we wanted to make sure that you were aware of the latest announcements and sort of trends really around Mail Next, because so many of you already have Connections and there's so many integration points between Mail Next and iNotes as well and the Connections world, so it's good to understand where that's going in the future.
Testing. Is anyone able to respond to the call? Give you a moment. I'm trying to get an idea where everyone is in the digital journey at the moment in this session. Okay, there's one person in this room who's deployed this, but everybody else. Or do we just blame the Wi-Fi then?
Is that sounding?
Much better.
That actually makes a difference then.
So it looks like we don't need this session because everyone's deployed an experience. Either that's the people who can actually use Twitter. I'll come back and have a look at that at the end. Maybe by the end of this you'll all feel a lot more experience about your connections. But let's go into the presentation. So the first thing to say today is that I'm not Alan Hamilton. So for those of you who are looking forward to a Scottish gentleman who has does excellent Shrek impersonations, you're not actually getting that guy today. My name is Mark Osborne. I lead the social business technical team in Europe, and I'm very privileged to be taking you through this session today on connections adoption. What we're going to be looking at is a methodology that Alan has developed. It's a very structured methodology for how to adopt connections in your organisations. That methodology is made up of these steps. So we start off with a vision. We get commitment from senior management. We go through a structured planning process. We ensure there's engagement from the users, and then we go through a cycle of iterative adoption to ensure that that we're learning from the experience that we have along the way. So let's just start off with the first area, which is vision. And this is absolutely critical. If you don't get this right, then you're almost certainly going to fail. And I don't know if anyone saw a Gartner study that came out. I think it was a couple of years ago. I don't know, it was 2000. It was last year. Around the fact that 80% of social enterprise projects are going to fail. And the reason that they cited that is that these projects often don't have a clear objective, right? It's like it's a game, and not taken seriously. And the bottom line is, if you don't have a business purpose for your social software project, then you are most certainly going to fail. So the most important thing is, with any social project, start with the end in mind. What are you trying to achieve with this project? And as part of that, draw up that defines that. Work with your team to draw up that statement. And within that, define the expectations and requirements of that, and make sure that you've actually got owners for all of those. So an example of that would be, if you've got an objective as an organisation to improve staff retention or improve communication, what are your measurements around that? What does that mean? How do I prove that my social project has improved staff retention? How do I prove that my social enterprise project has enhanced the sales management process? What are the metrics again for that? And if it's case, say for example, the sales management process, who's the owner of that? Well, that's probably the head of sales. They have to be brought into that. They have to have worked on the statement on that. They are the owner of the success of that aspect of the project. Once you know what your objectives are, you need to review them with the team and have everybody buy into those objectives within management and actually make sure they're all set. And finally, create a baseline. Where we started from today, what's the current situation, then I can actually measure the success, and as we go along we can see the results throughout the project. So make sure you've got a you start the end in mind, and there's a great example of this with Dr. Stephen Cowie, the late Dr. Stephen Cowie, who said you've got to start the end in mind and you've got to have a clear objective from the beginning. And so when you've got that, when you know what you're doing, the second most important part is to make sure you've got commitment from your senior management. Now, there's got to be a sense of buy-in, and the senior management within your organisation have got to be completely vocal and saying that yes, we support this initiative. It is part of our core objectives within this business, the transformation that we're going through, the initiative we're starting, the project we're doing, we are behind it. And in order to do that, they have to communicate. Now, everybody in senior management is different, everyone's got different strengths, and you've got to be aware of that. So maybe some people are very happy writing and using the written communication, in which case you want to encourage your executives to work on blogs and other written communication. Maybe long-winded communication isn't their strength, in which case you want to put together a regular profiles update, where they're regularly doing updates within the system. But you have to agree work with the communications team for your senior executive, which they almost certainly have, and make updating connections part of their routine. Now there's an excellent example inside IBM, and this is our CEO Ginny Rometty, and she uses video blogs to communicate with 400,000 IBMers around the world. Now what's interesting about the way that she utilises video blogs is she makes it incredibly personal. If you're looking at the way she does it, she addresses directly to the camera. She's not being interviewed by somebody off screen. She's talking to you as the IBMer, and she's using the tool. And not only that, when she communicates, the thing about Connections is that it's a two-way communications vehicle, and almost inevitably, every communication brings a lot of comments and a lot of feedback. And she responds to those. So you actually get a dialogue going. So they utilise that as a way of communicating. And then she's actually leveraging that communication further as a management tool. So I've seen situations where she's made a new announcement internally. Employees have replied and saying, this is a great new initiative. It was one around the neighbourhood. Employees responded, this is brilliant, Ginny. She then took those responses from the employees and sent it out to the managers and said, look at the response from the employees to this new training initiative. What have you, manager, done about this? So she's using this as a tool for reinforcing a transformation within the business from a top-down approach. So it's critical that you have your executives buy in to your social initiative. So the next part is planning. And that's what exactly are you going to do? What are you going to tackle first and how are you going to execute? This is getting more into the nuts and bolts. Are you going to tackle first low-hanging fruit or tackle some big issues? And often it's a lot easier to start small and grow big. But every situation is different. Sometimes you need to have more of a big bang approach. I will look at some possible scenarios that you can use for getting started in just a moment. Obviously, to be credible, you have to use the system yourself. So you have to be visible as a leader yourself, engaging the system and using the system to run the initiative. It seems a bit obvious, but you have to do these things. You have to be conscious of it. Set up your core team. Find the right people to be part of it. Some of those are full-time staff, if you can afford that. People who can be community leaders, but some of them are volunteers, early adopters. So look in your organisation, who within the area that you are targeting is going to be most, take it up initially and drive it forward, and target those early adopters. So it could be some of the younger members of the organisation more familiar with software. In actual fact, it's not always the case. Age isn't necessarily a factor, but you've got to find the people who are most enthusiastic and use them to actually drive it forward. And those early adopters, they can also become your champions and can grow out from a volunteer basis. And look at the community managers. Those are the people who are going to actually own the communities, edit them, ensure the content is correct and so on. And again, this can either be a formal role, full-time role, or it can be a volunteer role, depending on the type of initiative that you're running. As you go along, as you go through the process, use the approach of iterative planning, and we'll look at exactly what that means, but basically it's about learning as you go along, right? Taking what you've learned in the first project that you roll out and using it in the next one, or in the next geography, or the next region. So let's look at an example now or think about how we identify the areas and how we go about working with different types of areas, different types of initiatives, and what you're going to tackle. You're going to tackle some low-hanging fruit, or you're going to tackle something more complex. So when you know what your project is, and you have your vision, and you look at that group, you're going to look at the characteristics of that group. So say, for example, we have an initiative to make the marketing organisation more effective, and we want to actually make them, the objective is to make them able to exchange their knowledge more effectively. Okay? Now, when we look at different types of organisation, we'll see there are groups with loose connections and groups with very tight connections. And what we mean by that is there are those people who work together every day and those who don't necessarily do that. So if you think of a group that works together every day, that's a tight team. So that could be, for example, a marketing team within one country or within one town. Or it could be, say, it could be a group that work together within one office. And these types of groups actually talk to each other every day. I mean, really talk to each other, not just electronically chat, but actually speak to each other every day. They are already engaged in a very, very targeted activity. Be it sales, be it delivering a service to a customer, be it looking after a citizen, whatever it happens to be. So in these sorts of situations, the type of tools that you're going to actually use with these types of users are very practical tools, like using file sharing for actually having a central point for storing files and not using shared drives or not using email, but actually being able to access the files. Very simple stuff like that. It could be using activities to make a process more effective. But these are very, it's very much focused on very practical, specific projects. It's not about enhancing necessarily their communication with each other, because they're already talking to each other a lot. If you're looking at a different type of group, where you've got very loose connections, you're going to have a completely different approach. Now, the example of this would be if you're trying to connect, and going on a marketing example, you're trying to connect marketing teams from across Europe to work with each other. Or maybe if you're talking about trying to make a whole part of an organisation collaborate. Now in these times you've got loose connections. People don't necessarily talk to each other at all, and maybe that's what you're trying to achieve. You're trying to create an interlock between these people to actually get benefits from the knowledge. Now this sort of situation, we're going to use a completely different set of tools. This is where you might use ideation blocks, for example, to get a discussion going among the team, to actually identify best practices. You might use classic blogging to share knowledge and encourage people to share knowledge with each other and find experts. So it's a very, very, very different approach, a different set of tools you're going to be using when you've got the loosely coupled type of organisations. Now, what you could do with these sort of different types of concepts is apply that to an iterative approach to adoption. And what does that mean? Here's an example. This is where we really get down to sort of the some of the nuts and bolts. Imagine, we go back to my previous example, imagine our objective is to make some marketing teams more effective. Now, we might say, well, I'm going to start with the team in England, and they all sit together in the same office and they all talk to each other. So we're going to do some very basic stuff around file sharing and processes inside activities. I'm then going to take the same approach and do the same with the German team. So I'm doing the same thing. Learning from the first process, going through the same with the German team, next process. I can then go to the next step where I can up the ante a bit and we can do some more sophisticated type of activities, again, with those individual teams. So the next part, if I look at the iteration 5 here on the screen, is when I say, right, I've got those teams up and running, they're working in a very sophisticated way within themselves. I'm now going to take the approach of a loosely coupled organisation. I'm going to join them together and I'm going to get the two marketing organisations in Germany and in England collaborating together and actually exchanging some best practices. And that's where I'm joining a loosely coupled organisation. And I can do some initial work around that, and then I can go around it again and I can do more sophisticated work. And I can just keep, so it's almost like going in loops, like growing it and growing it as I go along, and building on my experience as I go along, as I grow towards the overall objective. So the next part is almost something that I consider almost like a hygiene factor in your rollout of a social enterprise solution. And that is ensuring the engagement with the team. Right? This is something you've got to be doing the whole time through the project. And these things just have to be in place. The first part, and again, you see, this is in a circle for obvious reason, because they're not in any particular order, that they're all equally important. You have to consider all of these. But starting from the top, we see communications. And this is straightforward internal advertising. And we've seen some great examples of that. Right? We've seen a number of customers in this room have been doing some great advertising internally. They've used their communication team to make people aware of the new internal social tools. They've advertised what to use it for. Right? This is traditional communications. Right? Basic stuff, very important that everyone's aware that the new system is in place and this is what you're meant to do with it. The second hygiene factor to consider is motivation. People are intrinsically lazy and selfish, unfortunately. They're only going to do something if there's something in it for them. Why should I engage with this new tool? So you've got to be clear about that. You've not just got to whip people and say you've got to do this. There's got to be a motivation. Is it because it's going to save me an enormous amount of time? Is it because if I use this, I'm going to look good and that's going to improve my chances of promotion? What is the motivation? So you have to have considered that, and you've got to make it clear to the team that you're rolling it out to. The other part is very basic, and that's training. And I was talking to a customer earlier today, and we were discussing that it is so important to have, you cannot underestimate the importance of basic training. How do I use the tool? Now, a lot of stuff in Connections is quite intuitive, but you've got to make sure you explain to your team how you're using it. What aspects are you going to use it for? What aspects aren't you going to use it for? How you're going to use tags, whatever it happens to be, but you've got to have a very clear practical training plan as part of it. And also support, right? And that's often that's working with a traditional IT department to make sure the technical part works, but also that your community managers and your champions are there to support people in terms of the day-to-day operation and using the system. So it's pretty basic stuff, but it's fundamental you get these right, because a rollout can fail because one of these is not sorted out from the beginning. So finally, think about iterative adoption. We've kind of touched on it before, think about it again. As you go around, as you start with one project, and all of the customers that I've spoken to have been successful, they start with one very clearly defined business goal, and then they roll it out to one team, and then they move it round to another, and then you look at the next project and so on, and as you go along you learn. So, as part of that, so you integrate the social tool into your daily work, right? Connections has to be part of the daily work that people are rolling out to. You need to customize the tool to meet your needs, and that can be as simple as putting your company logo on, or it could be integrating it with your existing CRM system. So you need to actually make sure it fits with the role that you're asking to use. You need to establish ground rules. This is how we tag. This is what's appropriate, this is what's not appropriate. Right? So you've got to have guidelines of what you can use a tool for or what you can't use a tool for. We have to motivate people, as we discussed. We have to have training in place, mentoring through community leaders and through experts. And then, most importantly, you have to measure and review. And measurement should not be how many blogs and tweets there have been. It's nice to see that, and it's a basic place to start, but really measurement is achieving business objectives. Right? Have we saved costs? Have we delivered stuff to customers faster? Have we made more revenue? Right? Real hard business objectives. That has to be the measure. You go back to the baseline we talked about at the beginning when you set up your goals, and you need to measure against those. And here's just an example of how you might go about putting together an iterative planning outline. And now, to be honest, no plan survives first encounter with the enemy. So, particularly when you're looking at your first project, you almost certainly won't achieve the exact things won't happen the way you expect. But it's good to have a plan from the beginning so you actually know which steps you're going to work through and how you're going to go about it. And this gives you sort of an idea. This is just an example from a customer that we've been working with recently, just to give you an idea of what it might look like in practice. So, to summarise, 5 steps for adoption, right? Very structured. It's also, there is no particular order, right? They are all important. You may start at a different stage on this journey, right? But you do need all of them to be in place. You do need a vision, a business goal for your connections implementation. Build it and they will come. Just doesn't work, right? That will lead to failure. You need to have commitment from your senior management, from the top down, for the initiative that you're running. You need to put together a structured plan for what you're doing. You need to ensure engagement of your teams, and then you need to learn from what you've done in each iteration and go back and improve the next time. And that will help you be successful. And this is something we're seeing over and over again. And the great news is, lots of people here today who are being very successful in their adoption project. What I've definitely seen is nobody's the same. Right? No organisation is identical. Everyone's going to take a slightly different approach. We can all learn from each other, and we can all take best practices from our own initiatives. So my other great recommendation here is dialogue. Meet other customers. Use these next today and tomorrow to talk with people who've had experience, exchange your pains, exchange what worked, and that's where you can become successful. Now, if you want to know more, what I've been presenting today is based on some work that Alan put together. He's now published in this book. It's available from Amazon, so you can grab the QR code or just search for the name in Amazon. But that's the foundation for this particular book put together, or you can go to his blog, a lot of the ideas there as well. So do go ahead, and if you want to have a dialogue with myself afterwards, I'm happy to talk. But other than that, we'll take some questions if you've got the mic.
Does anybody have a question for Mark?
That's good, no?
Right.
question about email should be interesting.
I don't need
No, it doesn't integrate with email, does it?
It's alright. I can live with that. Hey, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. I want you to tell us what's your favorite use case of how you work today internally with your sales teams using Connections. Describe what it looks like.
I'm trying to think of there's so many, I'm trying to think of what my favourite use case is.
Let me rephrase that. The most impactful. The one that has driven your business revenue.
So, talking about myself personally, the one that has been most impactful is using Connections to actually plan how we're going to enable ourselves, right? So I'm responsible for a technical sales team. In the past, when we did trainings for the technical sales, we would sit down and say, management would make up what we're going to train the people on, and often we got quite bad feedback from those training events. And we turned that round, and we use Connections, specifically ideation blocks, to do that. And we asked the team, what do you want to see? What do you want to have at the next enablement event? And we had them vote on it. And we then took the top 20 topics and we turned them into work streams, which were activities within Connections. And we identified experts to actually work on them. Often people had self-identified, they'd actually proposed, I'm going to present on X or Y. I propose to present on X or Y, and others that voted said, I would like to see you present on X and Y. And we put that together, and we put together what was the most successful enablement event we've ever had, with 98% of people saying it was useful for their daily work. And then we did the same again the next year, and now it's just what we do. So for me personally, in my job, that was one of the most successful. I mean, there's so many others, but it was just saying, how do I organise a training event and make it what people can actually do, what people actually need.
Any other questions? I had a question for you actually, Mark. Do you within IBM tend to talk about working out loud or narrating your work in terms of getting people to actually tell other people in the organisation what it is they're working on day to day, an hour to hour?
We used to do that, then Lewis left. No, we do that. It's interesting. So some people do that and some people don't. And I've seen that it's not something that we've driven as a initiative to say every single day say what you're doing. But where it does happen, it's been very effective, and it gives you a lot of visibility, particularly with some senior executives. And you've often wondered, what do they do every day? And now I can see what they do every day because actually that's on their board, and sometimes that's incredibly useful because they're working on my customer, and that's a useful piece of information because I can leverage that to help them or to have a conversation with the customer later. So more and more people are doing that, and that's where it does happen. It is very effective.
Any other questions about school?
I think, there are hundreds of examples of how IBM is using social in all kinds of different nooks and crannies of the business, and there's some great documents and presentations on that if you're interested in learning more. So there's a question over there. Is that what you presented? Well, so you come to Chris's pitch, where you can learn more about that. That's tomorrow at first thing.
So Mark, this question is about the patterns you see in adoption across enterprises, large enterprises particularly. How many quarters do you see a typical enterprise taking to kind of roll out from the initial pilot group to a substantial part of the enterprise? I mean, do you see patterns emerging? How quickly this is happening? Is there clusters in terms of aggressive companies things that are culturally conservative? Any line you can throw on that?
I think there's probably some knowledge in the room on that as well, but it depends, right? To say that I'm seeing different trends. What we have seen as a consistent sort of feature is if you start with a very, very limited and restricted pilot, then that tends to be quite unsuccessful, right? So we've seen situations where, and I've seen it repeatedly, where we will only have, let's say, 50 users just there and nobody else can use this tool. And that is not successful because nobody can see the point of using the tool, because it's going to go away, it's only restricted, it doesn't make sense. Where we've seen it be implemented in a large part of an organisation, or even the whole organisation, and then you target a particular process for a pilot, but anyone else can adopt it, then we see a lot of success. So one of the most successful customer situations we've seen is where the customer had a competition to say, we're only going to implement 10, 20 processes or connections initially as part of a pilot. Submit your process and it will may be selected. And there was a mass of people applying, it generated a lot of interest. And then when they found some of these processes, they were really, really effective at saving time within those processes. Some of them from down from 10 to 20, 30 days down to 6 days, and it was very effective, and that then created more buzz around it. And that then leads to kind of natural growth. So you start off with something with creating a pilot. We're going to use that process, and it sets an example for others. And then you start to get the exponential growth happening. And because it's open to the whole organisation, things happen that are unexpected. People start using parts of the business you didn't think were going to use it, because they pick it up and they grow. Now, it's kind of the opposite of the build it, they will come, will fail, but create some examples and some successes, and then people will come, right? You have to seed it, and I see that. I mean, in the going back to the example I talked about with the enablement, where we had the ideation block. The first time I did that, I had to email everybody the ideation block, and nobody used it. Then I emailed everyone the link again for the ideation block, and a few people used it. And then I emailed a very shouty email to the ideation block saying they had to do it by this Friday or else. And a bunch of people started using it, and then I didn't need to email it again because it started happening. Because there was enough critical mass to make it, oh, I want to present at this, I want to vote, and it started growing by itself. And the next year when I did the same thing, people are already posting things in the ideation blog within minutes of me setting it up without me sending out an email, because they were following my activity stream and they wanted to be in the next event. And then other parts of the organisation started adopting them.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So the next part of the agenda is just marked as closed for today, so I just want to make a few quick comments. First of all, we're going to go through into speed sponsoring, which will be in the sponsor area, starting in probably about a quarter of an hour or so, so give you time to get yourself together, get through, get a drink of some kind, and then we'll make a start. Secondly, the reception, if you're registered, starts at 7:30 for a meeting at 8 o'clock, so if you can make your way up to that if you're headed that way. Tomorrow morning we start at 9 o'clock, but we have refreshments from 8:30, so if you can make it here for then, that'd be great. We've got Chris Crummey session at 9, Wallace Rounds is up at the top, and I'm presenting at 9 o'clock, so do try to make it for that first session if you can. Are there any questions before we close? Tonight. So the reception is at the Villa Richter. You should have instructions on how to get there if you're registered. If you don't, please speak to one of the guys in the polo shirts and we'll make sure you get those. And as I said earlier, so we'll start at 7:30